Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Everyone's job change. Halo Master, I am a forbidden area. Chapter 61. Elder Lien, is this true? A core disciple from the attic jumped down and looked at the elder in disbelief and asked. Elder Lien was slightly silent, looking at Anyang as if he were a monster. Looking at the clearance results again, I still feel unbelievable. You, show me your damage log. Elder Lien looked at Anyang and slowly said. He was already a little confused at this time. He had previously received instructions from Sacred Land's senior management to increase the difficulty of this year's assessment. A secret realm with a relatively complex environment was specially selected for assessment purposes, even if it could not stop this legendary auxiliary profession. It was expected that it would take a lot of trouble to get it done. As a result, as soon as he closed and opened his eyes, he had already passed. Here, wait a minute. Anyang hesitated slightly, but did not refuse. The damage log can reveal a lot of information, but in Sacred Land, these will be known to others sooner or later. After all, he can't always be alone in various dungeons and secret realm guides. As long as there is a team, there is no way to avoid being spied on by others. He hid some important information for a while, and then displayed the damage log in front of everyone. You caused a critical hit of 735,000 damage to the Thunder Element level 25. 735000 damage in a combo. You caused a critical hit of 718,000 damage to the Fire Elemental Elite IV 25. 718000 damage in a combo. You caused a critical hit of 735,000 damage to the Dark Element KV 25. 735000 damage in a combo. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Hiss. Dense rows of damage information appeared in front of everyone, and everyone took a breath at a glance. More than 700,000 injuries. I can't even deal more than 700,000 damage now, but a freshman like him can easily do more than 700,000. Nah, this is still a group attack. Are you crazy? This is auxiliary profession. Who can tell me which skill of Aura Master is so abnormal? More than perverted, simply perverted. There are also combos. Critical hits with knives, combos with knives. The damage is over 1.4 million in one blow. You call this auxiliary profession? The senior brothers and sisters who were watching the excitement suddenly exploded, and the other freshmen who were joining in the fun were also confused. I took a deep breath and felt my scalp numb. Look at the damage caused by Anyang's horrific explosion, and then look at his poor attribute panel. I immediately felt like tears were streaming down my face. This. Elder Lien also opened his eyes wide and was speechless. He couldn't even speak clearly. I just feel like my head is like a ball of paste, looking at Anyang like a monster. I couldn't say a word for a long time. Elder Lien, do I pass? Anyang was also filled with emotion. To be honest, the damage was beyond his imagination. However, it is normal if you calculate it carefully. The first is the improvement of three-dimensional attributes. After climbing the ladder, my intelligence attributes skyrocketed to more than 6,000. After a night in the dormitory, I safely took out the purple jade mineral essence throne. The three-dimensional attributes have each increased by several hundred points, and the pure basic attack has reached nearly 7,000. Upgrading Blessings Aura to level 2 directly increases the basic attack by 10 times. Immolation Aura's fixed damage of 3,500 plus additional basic attacks directly exceeds 70,000. Level 2 Critical Hit Aura brings a critical hit rate as high as 80%, which is almost equivalent to a knife critical hit. The second level of Explosion Damage, Aura, once again brings 10 times the explosion damage, and it is logical to deal more than 70 million damage in an instant. In addition to the monster's own defense and recovery, Anyang also has the Dragon Soul Baptism buff. Increased attack and defense by 30%, almost equal to that. There is also Combo Aura. After reaching the second level, the combo rate will be fully stacked. Knife Critical Strike, Knife Combo. Only then did he create such a terrifying Aura Master. Anyang was filled with emotion and looked at Elder Lien seriously and asked. Pass. Elder Lien came back to his senses and glanced at Anyang with a complicated expression. He could only nod his head, and then handed Anyang a sign. This is the outer disciple token. As the first to ascend the heavenly ladder and the champion of the Kyushu trial, you shall be the chief outer disciple of this term. 1,000 points guaranteed reward every month, 3 basic dungeon tickets, a 1-turn dungeon reclamation coupon, and recycling all points will increase by 10%. Elder Leon's expression returned to calm again, and he was as selfless as a robot. Briefly explain the treatment of the chief disciple. Thank you, Elder. And Yang was overjoyed. No wonder Shu Chongchun said that there would be a reward for being the first to climb the ladder. I thought that dragon soul baptism would already be this benefit, but I didn't expect that the real benefit was still waiting for me here. 1,000 points, and it only takes 100 points to open a talent. Just the guaranteed treatment is enough to activate talents 10 times. Junior brother and is so well known that it's better to meet him. I wonder if you are willing to join our iron-blooded guild. As long as you join our guild, we will cover all future dungeon tickets. What kind of person is Junior Brother N? Just a single dungeon ticket. If Junior Brother comes to our Ice and Snow Guild, not only will all the dungeon tickets be waived, but also the beautiful senior sister will be included. Hey, that's too much. Senior sister, do you think I can come? Junior Brother N, join our Feng Shui Guild and you will be exempted from all dungeon tickets and receive a monthly salary of 1,000 points. Gungan, how dare you invite Junior Brother N? Our Soul Eater Guild is ranked in the top 30, so that's where people like Junior Brother N should join. How dare you say that you are ranked in the top 30? Junior Brother N, our Jinghai Guild is ranked in the top 20. The president is the true brother, and his strength is second only to Lord Saint Child. Quote. And Yang was about to leave when a group of senior brothers and sisters outside suddenly swarmed over and invited him warmly. Yesterday, everyone was worried about something, and after all, Yang hadn't taken part in the assessment yet. Not even a true Sacred Land student, so he was too scrupulous to invite me. But now, I have truly seen Yang's strength. How can you manage so much? Not to mention auxiliary professions. Auxiliary professions are even more popular at this time. Especially a profession like Aura Master, it is simply a piece of cake. If any guild gets it, its strength will be greatly improved. In the future, when you open a dungeon and open up the secret realm, your efficiency will be improved by several levels. A group of senior brothers and sisters competed for invitations, and even offered enviable conditions. The last one stated that as long as Yang joins, the tickets for any future dungeons will be guaranteed by the guild. What's more, not only tickets are included, but also a generous monthly salary is provided. The highest guild is even enough to rank 10th in the entire Jushao Sacred Land. The salary of 10,000 points per month was offered, which made Yang's breathing quicken. I can't help but be excited. Among the freshmen watching the excitement at the edge of the square, Feng Chen looked jealously at Yang, who was surrounded by a group of senior brothers and sisters. His eyes were red with envy, and a plant couldn't help but blurt out. Humph, isn't it just an auxiliary profession? What are you proud of? A young man who was thrown off the ladder was so jealous that his eyes turned green. He cursed bitterly in his heart. How could he be so perverted if he has a supporting profession? Dongfang Zan gritted his teeth and looked at Yang, who became the protagonist, with resentment in his heart. He clenched his fists and wanted to say something, but in the end he could only loosen his fists weakly. It turned into a dejected sigh. Master Dongfang, are you giving up now? At this moment, a gloomy voice sounded in my ears. Dongfang Zan turned around and saw the man wearing black clothes with a sinister look on his face. The moment he saw the person clearly, Dongfang Zan suddenly became vigilant and fearful. Oyun, what do you mean? Haha, it's not interesting. I just heard that Master Dongfang was severely humiliated on the ladder to heaven. Do you want to give up like this? This is not the style of the ancient Dongfang family. Oyun chuckled and said pointedly. 1 meal, 2 meals. Dongfang Zan looked alert and replied gloomily. The second time was exactly what Oyun in front of me did, and he finally climbed to the 80th floor again. I met this person again. His strength was amazing, and he challenged me from the bottom up. He was defeated severely again and finally dropped to outside the top 10. Master Dongfang, please don't be so angry. Your family and I have established diplomatic relations for a long time. It's just a friendly discussion. What's the shame in that? Oyun didn't take it seriously and found an excuse to excuse it. Dongfang Zan sneered. He wanted to see what kind of medicine was sold in this cloud gourd. This Anyang is just an auxiliary profession, and he was born into a humble family but possesses a treasure. Brother Dongfang, don't you think it is a waste? Oyun changed the topic and put forward his main purpose. Oh, so what about waste? What does Brother O mean by this? Do you still expect me, a defeated general, to challenge him? Dongfang Zan raised his eyebrows and smiled sarcastically. Brother Dongfang, what you said is wrong. What do you mean by a subordinate's failed marriage? Oyun looked serious and spoke righteously. It's just a momentary mistake. If so. The two of them lowered their heads and conspired. Dongfang Zan's eyes shone slightly. I couldn't help but look up at Anyang, who was surrounded by the crowd, his eyes twinkling. Ah, sneeze. Among the crowd, Anyang sneezed. I always feel cold behind my back, as if someone is talking bad about me. Thank you all for your support, brothers and sisters. Please give me a thought and give me a reply. Anyang suppressed her heartbeat and politely declined the invitation from her senior brother and sister. He is new here, and he really has no idea about how many or how few these points are. I don't know how much the copy tickets are worth, so agreeing hastily is not a good choice. Now that he has 1,000 points in hand, he plans to complete the first mission first. By the way, let's take a look at Sacred Land's prices. It should, this is my business card, junior brother, you can come to me at any time when you figure it out. A group of senior brothers and sisters didn't bother too much and just handed over their business cards one after another. Anyang took the business card politely and looked around but did not see Lin Linger. Wei Wei couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. This girl was picked up by her second brother Lin Yadong yesterday and did not return to the dormitory at night. He hasn't shown up yet, and I don't know why he went there. But when she thought that her second brother was one of the current saint children of Jushao Sacred Land, she immediately felt relieved. This kind of person is considered powerful even in the entire Dragon Kingdom. It is estimated that many families will return to the Lin family. Elders must be treated with respect. Lin Linger would not be in any danger if she was with him. Shaking his head, Anyang turned around and walked towards the dungeon portal. The first mission is very simple and has been started since leaving the trial area. 1 turn, Elementary Aura Master Mission. 1. Clear the adventure level and above dungeons of the same level within 10 minutes of forming a team, and achieve more than 30% of the achievement points. 2. Any Aura Master Skill Book. The first mission is very simple, but Anyang has never had the chance to do it. Now that I have some points in hand, I can't continue to delay. After each job change, the basic attributes will be improved, and the attribute points obtained by upgrading will also increase again. It is said that if you do not complete the job transfer task after 3 transfers, your level will enter the checkpoint and you will not be able to continue upgrading. Xu Chongchun seems to be such an example. His level was raised to IV 150 many years ago. However, the 5th rank mission has never been completed, leaving his strength stuck at the peak of the 4th rank, unable to make any progress. And Yang's sword critical attack, sword combo. Could it be a critical hit aura and combo aura? The explosion damage is also very high. Above the attic, a young man in white looked down at the noisy crowd below. I gently put down the teacup and thought silently in my heart. Go and invite him. If he can be brought into our powerful guild, we will give him A-level treatment. Yes, a man in black who had been standing behind him immediately respectfully accepted the order and left. A-level treatment. Brother, it's just a new student, that's it. The frivolous young man opposite the young man in white was immediately shocked. Not everyone can get A-level treatment. Many core disciples could not get this kind of treatment when they joined, but now they are given a new student. A Sheng, you can't just judge people by their strength, potential is also very important. Gao Qicheng fiddled with the teacup on the table and spoke slowly. Besides, he is an aura master. It is true that the auxiliary profession will be smoothed out sooner or later in Sacred Land, but the aura master is different from others. His skills can be seen from his damage log. The level will not be low. And, if I'm not wrong, his talent is also extraordinary. This kind of person, even if he can't be the main C, his auxiliary ability will never be inferior to that of the paladin. The large-scale aura blessing assistance is definitely far better than the temporary teammates found from Kyushu Academy, and it will be of great help to us in opening up Wasteland. A-level treatment, he is worth the price. Gao Kasheng shook his head disdainfully, but he was too lazy to refute anything. It doesn't matter what Big Brother says, as long as you stay with Big Brother. It doesn't matter to him. Senior brother Gao is indeed very discerning, but it's a pity. I heard that this person is Lin Yadong's brother-in-law. I'm afraid you, Li Liuzhao, don't have a chance. A chuckle came from the table next to him, and someone shook his head and joked. Lin Yadong. Gao Qicheng was stunned for a moment before he came out of a secret realm. I don't even know about it. There are many people queuing up at the dungeon portal. Seeing An Yang coming over, many senior sisters looked over and whispered. Look, that's this year's chief outer disciple, handsome, isn't he? Wow, so handsome. Not only is he handsome, I heard that he passed the test in just 0.01 seconds. What, you can just brag, and some people will believe this. If you don't believe me, it's going viral over there. Hush, an elder is here. Ah, isn't that, Shu, Elder Shu. An old man in white robe descended from the sky, and the scene suddenly became silent. Everyone looked at the visitor in shock. This man was also a legend in Sacred Land. It's just that it has been quiet since the level was stuck. Every time it appears, it must correspond to a major event. Now it appears here. Brother An Yang, you are indeed here. Shu Chongchun fell from the sky, ignoring the whispers around him. Searching the crowd with piercing eyes, he fell on An Yang at a glance. Immediately overjoyed, Senior Shu. An Yang was slightly shocked. This old man was completely different from before. Before, I was as decadent as an old man, full of twilight and vicissitudes of life. Now his eyes are as bright as a torch, and he strides forward like a dragon or a tiger. You can tell from one look that he is a peerless master. He almost didn't recognize him. Haha, what do you call me senior? Just call me senior brother. Shu Chongchun took An Yang's hand affectionately, and pulled An Yang away without any explanation. Let's go, do your senior brother a favor and you'll be rewarded with 100,000 points. Do you want to do it? Hiss. Countless people pricked up their ears to eavesdrop, and immediately took a breath of cold air when they heard Shu Chongchun's words. Everyone's eyes widened with jealousy until their eyes turned red. 100,000 points. An Yang also widened his eyes and looked at Shu Chongchun with dumbfounded eyes. I almost doubted that I heard it wrong. 100,000 points. Senior brother Shu, I can actually help you. Senior brother Shu, I am the 10th rank of core disciple and can barely be considered a master. I wonder if senior brother Shu needs help. I can do it too, lecturer brother. Senior brother Shu, I only need 80,000 points. If you have any orders, please tell me. I just need 50,000 points. Why are you getting involved now? Is it possible that senior brother Shu is asking for help for a common matter? How dare a mere core disciple speak so brazenly? Senior brother Shu is here to tell you the truth. The dungeon portal is a place that everyone in Sacred Land, from a freshman who has just started to a 4-year-old true conversion, needs to rely on. When Shu Chongchun announced that he would be rewarded with 100,000 points, it immediately caused a sensation. Countless disciples' eyes suddenly turned red, and they all walked up to introduce themselves. The core disciples could not help but recommend themselves, each with a more noble status than the last. Even the true disciples were alarmed, and figures quickly came from a distance. Look at Shu Chongchun respectfully. After all, the price of 100,000 points is really a bit scary. Even many true disciples may not be able to earn so many points in a year. Only legends like Shu Chongchun exist among true disciples. After living for many years, I have a lot of money to be able to spend such a huge sum of money. You guys, I'm going to do a 5th mission. Are you sure you can help? Shu Chongchun glanced around and smiled disdainfully. Not many true disciples could catch his eye. After all, true inheritance and true inheritance are different. You can apply for promotion to true inheritance only after reaching level 100 and level 4. But after level 100, the experience required for each level up is astronomical. Even with the resources of Sacred Land, even without counting the tickets required for the dungeon. I keep grinding dungeons day and night to upgrade, and I can't get to the next level in a year. You can imagine how long it takes to reach the full level of level 4. Just a level of 150 is enough for all true disciples to look up to. And level is only one aspect. Shu Changchun's combat power has reached the peak of rank 4 many years ago. The reputation resounds throughout the Dragon Kingdom, making many rank 5 experts dare not underestimate him. Therefore, his disdainful smile made the people around him suddenly turn pale, but after hearing Shu Changchun's words. But he suddenly couldn't care less about his anger, but was shocked. Senior Brother Shu, are you going to do the 5th rank mission? 5th rank, Senior Brother Shu is going to break through the 5th rank. What? It is said that Senior Brother Shu once invited many helpers from 5th level auxiliary professions, but they all ended in failure. Now, and Yang. The ordinary inner disciples 220 and the core disciples still don't know what happened. Only the few true disciples were shocked when they heard this and looked at Shu Changchun in disbelief. His face was shocked, his eyes were flashing, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Ordinary disciples don't know it yet, but they know it very clearly. Shu Changchun is a very ancient true disciple of Sacred Land. When most of them had just entered Sacred Land, Shu Changchun is already the saint child of Sacred Land. And it's the first saint child. His strength and reputation were at their peak, and he was even favored by many elders in Sacred Land at that time. I think it is likely to be the future successor of Sacred Land. However, in the end, perhaps due to jealousy of the talent, Shu Changchun, who was at the peak of the 4th rank, suddenly lost the news when he was about to move to the 5th rank. In the end, he resigned from the position of Saint Child and took the initiative to find a job in charge of job transfer. Only then did everyone find out. Some people rumored that Shu Changchun failed the job of job transfer. I paid a huge price to find help from the 5th level auxiliary professions, but in the end, none of those auxiliary professions came back. Everyone knew that his 5th level mission would be unimaginably difficult, and everyone began to stay away from him. A generation of genius has disappeared from everyone, almost disappearing in their memory. Unexpectedly, he suddenly appeared now, and as soon as he opened his mouth, he was like a king. He actually wanted to start the 5th revolution again, and he was looking for a new talent. Suddenly someone looked at Anyang with pity in their eyes. In their opinion, it was obvious that this genius had offended Shu Changchun for some reason. Where is the reward for these 100,000 points? This is the money to buy his life. Junior brother and, someone kindly wanted to remind Anyang, but was quickly stopped by his friend. Although Shu Changchun has not shown up for a long time, people dare not ignore his former power. The 4th rank subversion, the combat power comparable to the 5th rank, is far beyond the ability of ordinary true disciples to offend. What's more, with Shu Changchun's strength, his former classmates who survived are now powerful figures in Sacred Land. If you offend him, even if you are a true disciple, life will never be easy. Now that Anyang is being targeted, he can only be considered unlucky. This calamity is destined to happen. Even if Lin Yadong comes, he can only accept his fate. Junior brother and, but the 100,000 points earned are too few. Shu Changchun didn't bother to care what others thought. He turned back to look at Anyang and his expression suddenly became a little flattering. I haven't done a mission in years. I only have 100,000 points for now. Let's do this. I'll give you all the 100,000 points, and I'll give you the remaining 100,000 points after I complete my job transfer. I'll pay you back in 1 year. Besides, I owe you, CGDH, another favor. If there is any need in the future, as long as I can do it, senior brother, I will definitely not refuse. Shu Changchun gritted his teeth and raised his chips again. This is the most he can offer. If Anyang doesn't agree again, there was nothing he could do. What did senior brother Shu say? Anyang, who was suppressed by 100,000 points, finally reacted and quickly stepped forward and held Shu Changchun's hand. Senior brother Shu has not yet repaid his life-saving kindness, how dare he ask for any reward? Senior brother Shu, if you have any orders, it's okay to just tell him. If I can do it, I won't dare to refuse. And Yang's words came from the bottom of his heart. If Shu Changchun hadn't come to the rescue when there was a problem with the transmission a few days ago, no matter how talented he is, he will definitely have no chance of surviving. After all, the gap in strength is too big. Everything seems futile in the face of absolute power. Moreover, Xu Changchun actually had the choice to leave at that time. Qingmianlu's goal was his divine weapon. If Xu Changchun insists on leaving, those people may not try their best to stop him. But Xu Changchun chose to risk his life and stay to protect himself. Little did he know at the time that his assistive abilities were also incredible. Being able to stay and protect him would really mean risking his life. If it weren't for my own assistance, I would have completely fallen into the hands of the Qingmianlu killer that day. After such a life-saving grace, he, and Yang, is naturally not a person who refuses to repay his kindness. What's more, he also has his own calculations. Xu Changchun is extremely powerful. After being stuck at the door of the 5th rank for so many years, he still has the strength to shock the Dragon Kingdom. If I can help him complete the 5th rank mission, such kindness is no less than the kindness of saving a life. He is equivalent to having a strong backstage, which even surpasses the Lin family that he has never met before. Haha, I did read you right, junior brother, let's go, I'll tell you the details later. Xu Changchun was overjoyed, although he thought he knew An Yang's personality very well. But you must know that his 5th level mission is to be a powerful demigod. With such a being, just a little wavelet and wavelet can easily kill An Yang instantly. It's so dangerous. To be honest, he's not sure whether An Yang is willing to risk his life to help. Fortunately, he was not wrong about An Yang. It's no secret that he helped An Yang a lot in secret. Senior brother Xu, please. An Yang nodded, not caring about changing tasks. Extending his hand to invite, the two of them walked towards dormitory number 1. Shortly after the two left, many disciples in the crowd had their eyes twinkling. He hurriedly left the scene, and an explosive news instantly spread throughout the sacred land in the sky, spreading in all directions like a storm. When An Yang came to the dungeon portal again, there are obviously a lot more people here, and a strong aura is looming. It made the originally noisy environment a lot quieter, and many new inner disciples couldn't help but secretly feel frightened and confused. Feeling the undercurrent of the atmosphere, I couldn't help but retreat quietly. He dared not even approach the portal. Senior brother Xu, junior brother, and as the champion of trials throughout the ages, many seniors are paying attention to it. Are you sure you want to do this? Just when Xu Changchun was about to take An Yang into the dungeon, a powerful aura suddenly emerged. Then a middle-aged man wearing golden light armor suddenly appeared in front of him, with his right hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist. The face is solemn. Junior brother Qin, don't worry, I know the depth. Xu Changchun did not have such a disdainful attitude towards others, and stared at him closely for a long time. Then he spoke slowly. The third elder has been paying attention to it for a long time. Do you know what your wishes will be if you die? The middle-aged man in golden armor did not squint his eyes and did not move away. No, the two looked at each other, and their momentum surged in the air. A strong wind blew up, and the entire dungeon portal seemed to tremble. It seems like it will disappear at any time. For a long time, the middle-aged man in Jinjia seemed to know the answer from Xu Changchun's eyes. After pondering for a long time, he didn't say anything more and turned around to retreat. Xu Changchun is doing something. If anyone wants to stop me, just come here yourself. Don't waste your efforts. You can't stop me. When the others were about to make a move, Xu Changchun suddenly burst out with aura. No movement was seen, but the terrifying aura was directly crushing everyone's hearts like a field. The core disciples who were watching the excitement around them all felt that their vision went dark and they couldn't breathe for a moment. Such a terrifying scene immediately made everyone look horrified. Many strong men were originally preparing to step forward. At this moment, it felt as if their bodies were imprisoned. No matter how hard they struggled, they could not move at all. After a while, everyone woke up from their confusion. But there are still two figures in front of me. Senior brother Xu is so strong. The domain, although it is not yet at the 5th level, it already possesses the power of the 5th level. We are both at the peak of rank 4, but we can be so strong. It's too exaggerated. We are also at the peak of rank 4, but we can't even bear the breath. It's not a domain, but it's no less than a domain. It's rumored that when there is a qualitative breakthrough in the 3-dimensional attributes, the energy and blood can also be forcibly crushed to form a power similar to the domain, commonly known as proving the Tao with force. 11. But, isn't senior brother Shu a mage? Quote. You call him a mage. Outside the teleportation gate, several true disciples who were obviously older were still looking pale. Looking at the empty portal, I couldn't help but discuss it with lingering fear. As someone who is also at the pinnacle of rank 4 and is about to reach level 150 and then rank 5. Even if there is a slight gap between him and Shu Changchun, who has been famous for a long time, it will not be very big, not even weaker than him. However, reality taught them a profound lesson. Although Shu Changchun's strength was not at rank 5, in their eyes, he was no weaker than rank 5. The terrifying aura and three-dimensional air pressure control simply made them lose themselves in an instant. Confused and nowhere to be found. If they were in a battle, they wouldn't know how many times they would die at that moment. What to do now? He took An Yang out. Senior brother Shu is naturally not afraid of danger due to his strength, but the same cannot be said for An Yang. Report it to the police. An Yang has a prehistoric secret, and you must not fall into the hands of those people who want to see people dead or corpses. You mean, those people will come to intercept and kill? Since they were looking at each other, if someone spilled something, the others would be shocked. Walk. After thinking about the consequences, several people suddenly felt their scalps numb. No longer caring about the palpitations just now, one person turned around and left, while the others quickly slipped into the portal and disappeared. They seemed to know Shu Changchun's goal. The dungeon portal does not directly teleport into a dungeon. In fact, no one has been able to control the movement manually as long as the copy exists. A copy remains wherever it is found. If you want to enter the dungeon, you can only teleport to the area near the corresponding dungeon with the power of Jushao Sacred Land. Then go to the copy. Somewhere in the wilderness, the atmosphere of wildness permeates the air. That is the unique aura of the wild, which means there are many powerful monsters nearby. If an ordinary strong person accidentally approaches, it will definitely be a tragic battle. In the quiet wilderness, the breeze blows and the wild grass sways. Suddenly there was a flash of light in the void, and a dozen figures wrapped in black clothes quietly appeared. The moment he landed, he lowered his body and dived into the weeds, quickly spreading around, but Anomaly didn't touch a single weed. The weeds are still swaying with the breeze. No matter who comes, they may not be able to detect it without careful observation. However, there are more than 10 killers hidden in the wilderness with a radius of 100 meters. The 5th level demigod can only be the Death Lord of this death plane. Find him for me, this time I want him to die. Suddenly, another ray of light flashed, and a man wearing silver light armor appeared. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and with a command, the men in black immediately dispersed in all directions. Dazzling flame wave. Suddenly, a cold voice suddenly sounded. The terrifying flames ignited the wilderness of the film, and an exaggerated fireball fell from the sky like a meteorite. Locking on the figure of the middle-aged man, he hit him hard. Shu Changchun, you are indeed waiting for me. The man in Mingguang armor shrank his pupils, but he wasn't surprised. He sneered and didn't see what weapons he was carrying. Just punch him hard. Boom. The huge meteorite was exploded by his punch, and Huawei's fireballs the size of washbasins exploded in all directions. An unlucky man in black was directly hit by a fireball, and his miserable screams suddenly exploded in the wilderness. Really? Die. The meteorite was exploded, followed closely by Shu Changchun holding a war spear. The silver war spear seemed to be invisible under the sunlight, suddenly appeared and stabbed straight into the chest of the armored middle-aged man. There's still no progress after all these years, so why don't you come up with something new? The middle-aged man smiled disdainfully, retracted his fists and hit the tip of the spear directly. He suddenly planned to resist Shu Changchun's attack with his physical body. Blue fist. The middle-aged man shouted loudly, and blue light appeared above his fists. It's now, An Yang. Shu Changchun showed a smile of success and shouted loudly. Blessings aura, open. Critical attack aura, open. An Yang, who was hiding 1,000 meters away, suddenly felt something in his heart, and with a thought, he opened his aura in full. He himself didn't feel anything, but Shu Changchun, who was thousands of meters away, felt as if his body was going to explode. The terrifying blessing of power is even more terrifying than last time. Infinite power is condensed in the war spear. It surprised and delighted him. Whoa, filthy rat, die. The aura in Shu Changchun's body instantly increased tenfold, causing the middle-aged man who had been so confident just now to become frightened. The breath of terror made him almost breathless, and countless doubts arose in his heart. I still wanted to say something, but I didn't have the chance. En Yang, it's you. The words of despair and horror became the armored man's last words. He finally understood where Shu Changchun got the courage to restart the fifth turn mission. It was just a little bit close. In front of the portal of Jushao Sacred Land copy, Shu Changchun was miserable and dripping with blood. A set of valuable equipment on his body was almost torn into strips of cloth, and there were several wounds on his face that were deep enough to show the bones. The whole person exuded an extremely miserable signal from the inside out, and the breath all over the body was even more depressed. His eyes were beating, his heart was still frightened, and anyone who saw it could tell that he had probably just experienced a life-and-death battle at this moment. And Yang, it's still a little bit worse. We'll come back after your second turn. Shu Changchun glanced at the shocked melon-eating crowd around him. Several of them looked obviously not quite right. As soon as my heart moved, I remembered his face in my heart, but on the surface, he remained calm. Wei Wei turned around to look at En Yang and said with pity, although the mission has not been completed this time, senior brother can't let you run away in vain. This is 10,000 points, which is considered as the reward for this trip. Shu Changchun took out a dark gold token, which had the same shape as En Yang's chief outer disciple. It's just that the material looks much high level. When 2 tokens are touched, immediately transferred 10,000 points. Thank you, senior brother. En Yang matched Shu Changchun's expression with lingering fear and surprise. Thank you again and again. But there is something strange in my heart. Not only is senior brother Shu very powerful, the acting skills are also superb. If I hadn't been a witness to everything, I wouldn't have been able to believe that he had just experienced a life-and-death fight while watching his performance. Senior brother Shu, the job transfer still hasn't been successful. A middle-aged man with an extraordinary bearing came over with twinkling eyes and asked with slight hesitation. Is it junior brother Meng Hao? It's a pity that he was only a little bit close to killing him. Unfortunately, he is still not strong enough and has to retreat in defeat. Shu Changchun glanced at the other party and said depressedly. His expression was very unwilling. If you make enough preparations next time, you will definitely succeed. After saying that, Meng Hao shook his head and left directly without waiting for any further questions. Junior brother and, what is the goal of senior brother Shu's job transfer mission? Seeing Shu Changchun leaving, Meng Hao looked at En Yang with twinkling eyes. Suddenly he asked, and at the same time a special aura enveloped En Yang. I saw En Yang's eyes instantly glazed over. It's a half demigod boss, a demon wizard. En Yang's eyes were dull and he spoke dully. Hiss. The onlookers took a deep breath and looked at En Yang in horror. Everyone could tell that En Yang was not normal at the moment. It was most likely that the true disciple Meng Hao had done something. This means that En Yang will not lie at this moment. They really went to fight a demigod boss just now. Although he was unsuccessful, being able to come back alive already shows how powerful Shu Changchun is. Meng Hao's expression suddenly changed, as if he had eaten shit. Several other true disciples nearby looked at Meng Hao with schadenfreude. It was obviously not polite to ask about other people's job transfer missions. Especially for people like Shu Changchun who have been stuck for many years without changing jobs, this is a huge taboo. Originally, he was not afraid of Shu Changchun because of his extraordinary strength. He claimed that even if his strength was inferior, it would not be much worse. But now, he suddenly felt unsure. Shu Changchun was able to escape unscathed from the demigod boss, and he even took a drag bottle with him. You must know that it is a demigod boss, equivalent to the existence of a peak level 5 powerhouse. If he were to face him, he would probably be killed in one encounter, but now he has offended Shu Changchun, who can fight with demigods. Isn't this seeking death? No wonder senior brother Shu's job transfer was stuck for so long. The target turned out to be a demigod boss. What a bad luck. You can challenge a demigod at the peak of the 4th rank. If senior brother Shu succeeds at the 5th rank, then that's even better. It is rumored that senior brother Shu was the #1 saint child back then, and his strength is unfathomable. The other 9 saint children combined are no match for him. Now it seems that the rumors are true. It's too strong, but why would he bring a newcomer? Could it be that the newcomer's support is stronger than those of rank 5 experts? How is that possible? In my opinion, I'm afraid it has other motives. What's the purpose? How the hell do I know? A group of true disciples were quietly discussing that the target of Shu Chongchun's 5th level mission was a demigod boss. Anyway, it was Meng Hao who did this, they just happened to be passing by and overheard. If Shu Chongchun wanted to find trouble, he would go to Meng Hao. It has nothing to do with them. And Yang came back to his senses from his confusion, and the people around him looked at him with obviously more awe. The attitudes of many inner sects and even core disciples have also become much kinder. After all, being able to be treated like this by Shu Chongchun. Anyone who wants to offend must think carefully. But after this incident, Yang found it a bit difficult to find someone to form a team with. Shu Chongchun doesn't seem to have a very good reputation in Sacred Land. Although no one dares to offend him easily, he has also become a plague-like existence. Everyone else stayed away, and even if they wanted to form a team, they couldn't find any teammates. In desperation, Yang simply returned to the dormitory, preparing to form a team with Lin Linger when she came back. Haha, junior brother N, I was right about you, your acting skills are superb. As soon as I returned to the dormitory, Shu Chongchun was already waiting inside. When Yang came back, he winked at him and said, "Senior brother Shu's acting skills are powerful." Yang smiled knowingly. The scene just now was naturally just a play performed by the two of them. He was never idle along the way, and Shu Chongchun was never idle either. This guy is obviously more vengeful than him. Yang only remembers the 2 things that attacked him and killed Han Dufeng. But for Shu Chongchun, although those people's goal was Yang. But for so many years, he has always felt that there is someone behind the scenes spying on him, and he has never given up on him. Moreover, the man from Qingmianlu has already stated his goal for the job transfer mission. It is obviously not something that can be achieved overnight. Combining many things over the years, the existence of a behind-the-scenes enemy is absolutely untrue. He is not a good man. Now that the enemy has emerged, he will not sit still and wait for death. I have investigated some things in the past few days and finally made a preliminary judgment. What happened today was a plan he made, and the result was just as he expected. When he said in public that he was going to do a job transfer mission, the people behind him really couldn't sit still. Killers were sent immediately. By trapping and killing a killer, you can recover part of the interest first. As for the rest, he still has more methods waiting for the enemy to take the bait. But I got you involved. I'm afraid someone will take action against you next. Putting away his smile, Shu Chongchun said with a solemn expression. It doesn't matter, can someone still attack me in Sacred Land? Yang is not worried, he is just a freshman now. There is no chance to leave Sacred Land in the short term. At most, I will just go and clear a few dungeons. However, junior dungeons can generally be teleported directly to the entrance of the dungeon, and are usually led by elders from Sacred Land. It is a taboo to attack a disciple in front of the elders of Sacred Land. When the Sacred Land becomes angry, no matter where the enemy is hiding, they will never be able to escape. As for being promoted to intersect or even core disciple, if Shu Chongchun hadn't eliminated the enemy at that time, he, the former saint child, wouldn't have to play anymore. Nothing is absolute, but you'd better be careful. Seeing that Yang didn't take it too seriously, Shu Chongchun couldn't help but persuade him with a solemn expression. If you are pushed into a hurry, you can do anything at the moment of death. But you don't have to worry too much, I will send someone to pay attention and let you know if there are any signs. Yang nodded and took it to heart. Okay, you are busy first, I have to go back and check the identity of the person who took action today. After a few brief explanations, Shu Chongchun stood up and prepared to leave. Before leaving, I seem to have thought of something else. By the way, I know that you have a close relationship with the little princess of the Lin family. If nothing else, Lin Yadong will drag you into Tasai. But you'd better pay attention, Lin Yadong is not a simple person. Shu Chongchun pondered slightly, then slowly spoke. What's wrong? And Yang was shocked that Shu Chongchun could say something extraordinary. It's enough to show how extraordinary Lin Yadong is. But Lin Yadong is Lin Linger's second brother, so he can be considered his brother-in-law. Shu Chongchun asked himself to pay attention. I can't say, it's just that this person makes me feel very bad. You'd better pay attention to yourself. Shu Chongchun scratched his head and didn't seem to know what to say. In the end, he could only let An Yang pay attention to himself. Good. An Yang nodded and silently remembered it in his heart. I'll see if I have the chance to meet Lin Yadong in the future. He was not kept waiting for too long. Lin Linger came back at 10 o'clock in the afternoon. The aura was much stronger than before. After returning, he immediately came to dormitory number 1 to look for An Yang. Lin Linger applies to join the team. Agree or not? Closing square bracket. Agree. An Yang looked at Lin Linger, who was smiling mysteriously, wondering what this girl was trying to do. But soon he understood why Lin Linger was so shy. Lin Linger Demon King V28 joins the team. 28th level. An Yang was stunned and looked at Lin Linger's level in disbelief. This girl just disappeared for more than a day and was directly promoted from IV-19 to IV-28. Haha, how about it? My brother sent someone to take me through several dungeons, and I gave all the experience. Lin Linger finally couldn't help laughing. An Yang has always been very calm no matter what he does. The expression on his face is always confident and elegant. When have you ever seen such a shocked expression? I was finally shocked for a while, which made Lin Linger very happy. As expected of the second generation, An Yang is slightly envious. He can only say that he deserves to be the second generation. It's really good to have a backstage. As soon as she left the trial land, her family immediately arranged a change. While others were still scratching their heads, she had already successfully arrived at the Sacred Land climb ladder. Now that we have just entered Sacred Land, everyone still doesn't know what the handyman disciples should do. They have been picked up by the family forces and taken for a second time. I'm afraid that by the time the ordinary freshmen have just adapted to life in Sacred Land, these second generations will be able to succeed in their second transfer and prepare to be promoted to inner disciples. It's simply that one person is more likely to die than another. Haha, Yanger, wait until sister takes you to level up. Lin Linger was so proud that she stood on tiptoes and reached out to try to pat An Yang's head. He spoke like an adult, and the refreshing fragrance spread to his ears and nose. The two of them were in such a posture that everything was perfectly matched. An Yang stretched out his hand and suddenly wrapped his arms around Lin Linger's waist. Kissed the girl's lips directly. Well, caught off guard, Lin Linger only had time to let out a sweet cry. The warm touch on her waist made her whole body go limp. He collapsed directly into An Yang's arms. Don't. My brother is here and wants to see you. A dizzying passionate kiss and the big hands that were wreaking havoc on her delicate body made Lin Linger feel like she was falling into the clouds. It wasn't until she was violated somewhere that she suddenly woke up. Her small white hand grabbed the big and irregular hand, and the last bit of reason stopped her. Your brother, Lin Yadong. An Yang was shocked, and the heat in his body slowly receded. The two arranged their clothes and came to the second-floor dormitory. Dormitory number 2 is obviously much smaller than dormitory number 1, but it is also extremely luxurious compared to other dormitories. The moment he walked in, a tall young man attracted special attention. A decent casual outfit does not seem to be equipment, it looks extremely low-key and luxurious. Coupled with this person's unique temperament, he is like the brightest star in the night sky. Extraordinarily eye-catching. The young man was holding a kettle that he got from nowhere and was watering a row of delicate flowers. The row of flowers is colorful, and each one is different. The only thing that is the same is that they are all covered with a faint layer of green life essence. This turned out to be rows of spiritual grass. Second brother, this is An Yang. Lin Linger let go of An Yang's hand, jumped over and hugged the young man's arm to introduce him. An Yang, this is my second brother, Saint Child Lin Yadong. Meet Saint Child. An Yang looked at the young man in front of him and bowed slightly. I don't know if it was because of Shu Chongchun's words, but I seem to feel that the young man in front of me had an uncomfortable aura. An Yang, right, Sit down. Lin Yadong rubbed Lin Linger's little head lovingly, looked at Anyang with a gentle expression and extended his hand to invite. There is no air of saint child at all. Anyang, I've heard about it for a long time, but it's better to meet him than to be famous. Lin Yadong smiled and made Anyang a cup of tea, looked at Anyang up and down and said, Lord Saint Child is so complimentary. Anyang didn't know what Saint Child was talking about, so he could only listen. Haha, don't be nervous, my family approves of your relationship with Linger, and we will be a family from now on. Lin Yadong waved his hand, still smiling gently. Externally I am the so-called Saint Child of Sacred Land, but internally we are all just one family. If you don't mind, just call me second brother. Lin Linger's pretty face suddenly turned red, but a hint of joy flashed in her eyes. She was previously afraid that her second brother would oppose her relationship with Anyang, and even though she said many good things about Anyang, her second brother did not express his opinion. She was still very uneasy when she said they were going to meet, but she didn't expect that her second brother would be so nice when they met. She was a little overjoyed immediately. Idiot, what are you waiting for? Seeing Anyang in a daze, Lin Linger suddenly felt angry and anxious. Holding Anyang's arm, his little hand suddenly pinched the inside. Quote exclamation mark quote. Anyang took a breath. Although he has experienced a lot in his life, he has never experienced such things as meeting his parents. At this moment, even with his psychological quality, he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. He suddenly reacted after being pinched by Lin Linger. Second brother. Xu Chongchun still remembered what he said, but Lin Yadong's attitude made it difficult for him to resist it. I can only remind myself secretly in my heart to be more alert. Okay. Lin Yadong also seemed very happy. I'm relieved that Linger can follow you. I came here in a hurry today and didn't prepare any gifts. I just give you this skill book as a token of my gratitude from my second brother. Lin Yadong stood up and seemed ready to leave. A skill book appeared out of thin air with his right hand stretched out. Passed it to Anyang. You can always come to me if you have any questions later. As for the guilds, it's up to you. If you want to come to my Tajai to find Linger, you can also go to other guilds. Don't be cautious. Thanks. Anyang found the skill book and nodded gratefully. This meeting was a bit unexpected. Lin Yadong, whether it was his appearance, temperament or behavior. Everything is perfect, this can be seen from Lin Linger's adoring eyes. It seems that his admiration for him is no less than for himself. Secret second brother, he secretly prepared a gift without telling me. Lin Linger pouted and sent Lin Yadong away, then turned around and smiled happily. Then he also took out a skill book and handed it to Anyang. Look, this skill book is what I promised you in the trial field. I guarantee you will like it. Obtain. Skill book Void Aura. Obtain. Skill book Resist Aura Corpse. Lin Yadong suddenly appeared but didn't say much, as if he simply came to see his sister's sweetheart. Before leaving, he gave Anyang a skill book, which showed his attitude. Lin Linger also gave Anyang a skill book. Anyang didn't need to think about it to know that he probably got it from his uncle. Lin Yadong gave him Resistance Aura. Anyang's eyes suddenly lit up when he looked at the name of the skill. This is a relatively special skill, and it is also the life-saving skill of Aura Master. It is a must-have skill for every Aura Master, something that is priceless and cannot even be bought with money. Skill book Resist Aura. You can learn skills to resist aura after using it. Requires Aura Master usage. After activating Resistance Aura, all enemies and attacks will be pushed 50 meters away, and a disarming buff will be added for 10 seconds. Aura Master is a profession that I dare not say is the strongest support, but it must be the best support. It is the only auxiliary profession in which all skills are increased in a large range. Even if the auxiliary effect is not as good as that of paladins, priests, etc. But just based on the characteristic of range blessing, it is a necessary profession for large-scale legion wars. If you become aura, you will lose aura. Such an important profession is naturally the priority target for enemies to kill on the battlefield. The mortality rate has always been high, and even if it is heavily protected, Aura Master will often be beheaded by the enemy. In this case, there is no need to mention the value of Aura Master's life-saving skills. Anti-shooting aura is just such a life-saving magic drum. After turning it on, Enemies and all attacks will be pushed away directly, and a disarming buff will be added. Disarm buff, as the name suggests. It means that the enemy temporarily loses all attack capabilities and buys time for Aura Master to escape. Use. And Yang's eyes lit up and he couldn't wait to learn it. This gift is of great value, and the other party deserves to be called the Sacred Land Saint Child. The generosity is simply exaggerated. 557. Learn skill Resist Aura. Resist Aura IV1. After use, all enemies and attacks will be pushed away 2,500 meters, and the disarm buff will be triggered for 500 seconds. Quote. Exclamation mark quote. Looking at the skills enhanced by divine enhancement, and Yang was stunned. It can only be described with one beautiful word. Push it 2,500 meters away. This range is probably enough for even a level 3 powerhouse to push directly out of the attack range. If we wait for Aura's level to rise a little higher, we can just resist and push Aura thousands of miles away. It's exciting just to think about it. The disarming buff time is also affected by the talent enhancement, directly disarming 500. I'm afraid demigods would be confused if they looked at this number. What a bully. With emotion, and Yang looked at another skill book. Nothingness Aura, slightly less valuable than Resistance Aura. But it's also another life-saving skill of Aura Master. Skill book Void Aura. You can learn the skill Aura after using it. Requires Aura Master usage. All enemies or teammates within 50 meters enter a state of nothingness, are immune to all physical damage and cannot be physically attacked, and receive 30% more damage from spell damage. Void Aura is a nightmare for physical enemies. It's no exaggeration to call it one of Aura Master's magical skills. However, since it has no effect against legal enemies, it will actually increase the damage. With this flaw, the value will be lower than Resisting Aura. After all, many high-level monsters or enemies have so many methods that it is impossible to have just one method. Don't practice too much in both physical and mental disciplines. Use. Learn skill Void Aura. Void Aura IV1. Makes all enemies or teammates within a range of 2,500 meters into a state of nothingness, immune to all physical damage and unable to physical attacks, increased damage received from spells by 1,500%. Immolation Aura is spell damage, which is equivalent to the damage being doubled again by 15 times. And Yang secretly smacked his tongue. Nothingness Aura is worth less than Resistance Aura is for ordinary Aura Master. For him, an aura that can increase damage 15 times. It's no less effective than Resisting Aura. In other words, after being blessed with the divine enhancement talent, any aura has the power to turn decay into magic for him. Each one is a magical skill. If you go to the assessment dungeon again, you will be injured by 10 million or even the second level dungeon, and you will be able to do it in seconds. And Yang secretly calculated in his mind that even he himself became short of breath while calculating a page. Such exaggerated damage is like a dream. Linger is so good. And Yang closed the properties panel and looked at the girl who was looking up at the side waiting for praise. Don't hesitate to praise. Humph, that's it. How are you going to thank me? Lin Linger was not satisfied, she hummed and turned away. He looked like he would be angry if he didn't satisfy me. Thank you, then thank you like this. And Yang smiled evilly and hugged Lin Linger's waist, picking up the boneless girl. Ah, no, Lin Linger exclaimed as spring gradually bloomed in the room. The spring is bright and the sun is like fire. The next day, the week-long time to climb the ladder finally arrived. It also means that the enrollment of Jushao Sacred Land this year has officially ended and the new students have officially started. And Yang's task that he had been worried about for a day finally came to a turning point. Not everyone like Lin Linger and Fang Chen were arranged by their families directly after the trial. After all, most of them are ordinary people with ordinary births and do not have the professional resources. The first lesson after coming to Sacred Land is to find teammates to complete a mission. You can get a lot of three-dimensional attribute improvements. The most important thing is to get exclusive first-turn skills. And Yang randomly found a teammate, but the other party didn't seem to recognize him. Listen to me later, don't run around, I guarantee you will lie down. The person who spoke was a tomboy, dressed like a boy and his voice was a bit delicate. He patted his chest, which was no bigger than Yang's, and immediately took care of him. Junior brother, you are lucky to team up with me. From now on, I will protect you in sacred land and make sure you are so happy that you fly. Enyang rolled his eyes, and several classmates who knew Enyang looked strange. He looked at the tomboy sympathetically and didn't say much. A group of new students arrived in front of the portal. Many inner disciples saw Enyang and greeted Enyang enthusiastically. Junior brother N is here. I've met Junior brother N. Junior brother N, are you going to brush your books? Junior brother N, do you have tickets? How much level is Junior brother N? Do you want senior sister to help you level up? A group of inner disciples greeted him warmly, and Enyang was quite flattered. But what was more shocked than him were his fellow freshmen. Listening to the senior brothers and sisters who kept saying hello, the freshmen looked confused. Some people are envious and others look at Enyang with jealousy. Such treatment is indeed a bit exaggerated. You, they all know you. The boy who was a temporary teammate was even more confused. He looked at Enyang in surprise and then at the inner sect brothers and sisters. I can't even figure out what Enyang did to have so many senior brothers and sisters take the initiative to say hello. You must know that this is sacred land, and every disciple is a genius and a monster. Any disciple at the bottom of the inner sect would be a demon-like existence in Kyushu Academy, but in Kyushu he would be a genius who would make a family proud. Everyone is extremely arrogant. Have you ever seen anyone take the initiative to say hello to the new students? Not very familiar. Enyang touched his nose, thinking that all this was probably because of Shu Changchun's face. I am an unknown person, but Shu Changchun is a legend in sacred land. Before you figure out your relationship with Shu Changchun, the best choice is to make friends with yourself. Although these inner disciples may not be very outstanding, they are all very good. Not familiar. The tomboy was choked, and his heart felt like a cat scratching him. She arrived late and had not seen Enyang. Naturally, I didn't know that the handsome teammate in front of me would turn out to be the famous Enyang. Let's go and upgrade as soon as possible. Enyang was not interested in saying more. Lin Linger's level surged yesterday and was about to reach her second rank, which put a lot of pressure on him. Lin Linger can directly rise to level 28, and the second generation of Feng Chen and others will probably not be bad either. If he, the champion of the trial ground, doesn't seize the time to level up, he will really be surpassed by these second generations. Okay, which copy to clear? Do you have a ticket? The tomboy has a carefree personality, and he doesn't bother to dig deeper when he hears something. The two came to the dungeon portal and began to choose a target, and finally chose a dungeon named Shilipo. Because the characteristics of this dungeon are very suitable for Enyang's taste, there are no individual rooms. An entire plane is just a copy. There is no need to run back and forth to create a room. The tomboy didn't have any objections. After Enyang's choice, the two of them spent 10 points each to buy tickets. Walk directly into the portal and disappear. Shilipo Dungeon is a public dungeon of Jushao Sacred Land. It is a public copy, that is, a copy that has been completed for 1 year after being conquered. The land developers can no longer get any profit from it, so the ticket price has naturally dropped. But this kind of copy also has a characteristic, that is, the income is lower. The high profit of a copy in 1 year is a default rule. Someone discovered that the land reclamation dungeon has the highest chance of releasing good things, and there will be a good explosion rate within a year. However, the explosion rate will be significantly reduced after 1 year, so the default is that the pioneer will have 1 year's income. However, even though it is a public copy, it still becomes popular every year. After all, the annual freshman doesn't have many points when he first arrives, and the tickets for high-yield dungeons are also expensive. They can't afford it and can only choose this public copy. Although the income is low, the experience gained will not be reduced. Group up. Coming out of the portal is a grassland area. There is no city within sight, which is enough to illustrate the danger here. The teammates looked around and quickly found the entrance to the Shilipo dungeon. After hastily submitting a team application, the two of them rushed towards the dungeon. Enyang Aura Master IV-20 joins the team. Jia Shaozi Enchanter LV-16 joins the team. Yeah, Enyang. The tomboy was surprised when he heard the news about the team. He always felt that the name seemed familiar. But before she could think about it, the two of them entered the copy in a flash of light. Enter Shilipo King Level. King Level. Jia Shaoxi's eyes widened and she looked at Anyang in astonishment. Although I am assisting, the help ability is incredible, but I have never challenged a king-level dungeon. Besides, there are only 2 of us. Isn't this looking for death? Jia Shaoxi was about to cry, but felt a little regretful that she had lied before. Enchanter. You are also auxiliary profession. Anyang couldn't help but feel a little speechless when he saw the team news. Also, Aura Master. I'll go, you are Anyang. Jia Shaoxi's body trembled, and her face suddenly changed. After taking a look at the team information, my face turned pale. 2 auxiliary professions to clear dungeons, or king-level dungeons. The 2 of them looked at each other in confusion. How could they have imagined that a teammate they randomly recruited turned out to be an auxiliary profession? This ordinary level can also be tried, king level. Jia Shaoxi was about to cry but had no tears, but Jindu came in. You have to give it a try, otherwise the tickets will be in vain. Enchanter, what can you enchant? Anyang doesn't really worry about it. It doesn't make any difference to him who his teammates are. I'm just a little curious about the strength of this enchanter. Sacred Land has auxiliary professions coming in every year. But seeing that this was the first time other than him seeing it. Usually, I add attack and defense. But I'm not sure about dealing with a king-level copy. Jia Shaoxi frowned, but did not mean to blame Anyang. He just frowned and thought about how to deal with it. It's okay, you add me, I'll do C. Anyang said with a smile, it's not that he needs help. I just simply want to see how other auxiliary professions are different and what their auxiliary capabilities are. Are you coming to see? Jia Shaoxi looked at Anyang slightly suspiciously. Aura Master comes to see. Do you have output? It's better than an enchanter, right? Anyang wasn't angry either, he just smiled and said. Jia Shaoxi rolled her eyes, but she had to admit that what Anyang said made sense. Auxiliary professions are also different from auxiliary professions. Enchanters are more focused on enchanting equipment, props, law treasures, etc. Temporarily improve the attributes of equipment, and skills are also related to enchantment. The output basically can only rely on flat A. Okay, my enchantment is a little different, don't be scared later. Now that things have come to this, Jia Shaoxi can only break the jar. He took out a brush-like equipment and drew something in the void. The pen moves like a dragon, and an unknown talisman appears in the sky. The next second the talisman and seal were formed, and with a move of Jia Shaoxi's brush, it was directly directed to Anyang and disappeared. Get buff. Blessing of the Goddess of Wisdom, fake. Intelligence increased 3 times, duration 30 minutes. 3 times. Anyang's body trembled and he looked at Jia Shaoxi in disbelief. This enchanting ability is really incredible. The auxiliary professions that can be admitted to Sacred Land are indeed not ordinary people. Anymore. Anyang was slightly happy because his intelligence had reached 7,000. Now tripled it is equivalent to 21,000, and then add various auras of your own. The output instantly triples. If aura is turned on, the damage per second will be as high as a terrifying 30 million. If a combo is triggered, the damage will be more than 60 million. Gone. Jia Shaoxi shook his head, and Anyang's surprise suddenly stopped. No, shouldn't your level 16 have 2 skills? My talent is quite special. I can combine multiple skills, so I only have 1 skill that can randomly increase the main attribute by 1 to 5 times. Jia Shaoxi hesitated slightly and didn't know why. I always felt as if I could trust Anyang, and he even revealed his biggest secret. Skill synthesis. Anyang was amazed. This was the first time he heard about this kind of talent. But the effect is really good. It is an incredible auxiliary for any combat profession. After all, directly doubling the main attributes is equivalent to doubling the combat power. How is it? Can I fight? Jia Shaoxi is still a little worried. She came relatively late. I have only heard of Anyang, but I have never seen Anyang's strength. Naturally, I am worried. Beat. Anyang chuckled lightly, and immediately activated all ordinary auras. Critical hit. Minus 2,153,666. Batter. Minus 2,153,666. Critical hit. Minus 2,134,568. Terrifying damage instantly rose from the heads of all monsters within a range of more than 2,000 meters. These monsters were instantly killed before they could react, and dense experience was gained instantly. 2. More than 2 million. Instant kill. Jia Shaozi took a deep breath and looked at Anyang with wide eyes as if looking at a monster. I almost suspected that I was dazzled. Walk. Anyang no longer wasted time, he jumped up and rushed deep into the secret realm. As the name suggests, Shilipo is 10 miles wide. The range of his aura is amazing, but it can't cover it all. That's so cool. Jia Shaozi is just like her name, her gender is female, her personality is male, and she likes females. I was so excited that I couldn't help but uttered a curse word. When my body and mind moved, I felt like I was flying out of the rocket. The speed is more than 10 times faster than my own. The two of them were like a huge sickle sweeping through every corner of Shilipo. All the monsters were killed instantly without even seeing them. Even the two golden bosses encountered were no exception. Critical hits and combos directly caused more than 4 million damage. Kill him instantly. Clear the copy of Shilipo King level. Pass through evaluation. SSS. Settlement in progress. I cleared the dungeon easily, and Anyang's mission was finally completed. Complete mission. 1 turn. Obtain 200 free attribute points. Plus 10%. Acquire skills Flash Aura. Flash Aura IV1. Spend 1 point of ability to teleport once within the range of aura, gain 1 point of ability every day, and can stack up to 10 points of energy. The first mission is very simple, and the improvement is very limited. After the job transfer is completed, the free attribute points gained by each upgrade of the hidden auxiliary profession have increased from 8 points to 10 points, with only an increase of 2 points. But with the talent of Anyang Divine Enhancement, it has increased 5 times, which is equivalent to a full 10 points improvement at each level. At level 20, 200 points will be credited to your account at once. If it were before, Anyang would be very happy. After all, 200 attribute points is not a small amount, but now. All I can say is better than nothing. The bonus of life is a big improvement. With his strength of 7,000, basic life is as high as 140,000. A 10% increase is an increase of 14,000, which is not bad. But the most important thing is the exclusive skill, Flash Aura. You can teleport arbitrarily within the range of your own aura. For ordinary Light 26 Ring Masters, it can only be said to be pretty good. After all, the normal range of Aura Master skills, even if it reaches level 5 or 6, is only 100 meters at most. A teleport within 100 meters can barely delay the critical moment. If you are really in danger, it will only take 2 or 3 seconds for enemies of the same level to catch up, and there will be no heavy rain. However, Anyang's aura range is as high as 2,500 meters, and one flash has a displacement of several kilometers. If you save more power and flash a few more times in succession, a somersault thousands of miles away doesn't seem to be a dream. Anyang was thinking in his mind, waiting for his skill level to increase. Or if your talent is upgraded again, you will be the living great saint of Kishan. Brother N, do you still want to clear the dungeon? Take me to level up, and I will give you a ticket. After the job transfer was completed, Jia Shaozi still had unfinished business. The achievements that he was proud of before are now simply not worth mentioning in front of Anyang, and the efficiency of killing monsters is even worse. With such big and thick legs, even a fool knows how to do it. Okay, let's do it for a day. Anyang nodded cheerfully. After all, it is not every day to cover tickets. The important thing is that Jia Shaozi's ability is also very powerful. If we can make some friends, it might be helpful to him in the future. Senior brother Shu's job transfer mission, to kill the demigod. Anyang took a deep look at Jia Shaozi and thought of Shu Chongchun. He had a lot of chats with Shu Chongchun yesterday, and also asked Shu Chongchun about his confidence in killing the demigod. Shu Chongchun bluntly said that the chance is 0. Even if his assistants could increase his combat power by nearly 10 times, it would only be the hope of fighting a demigod. Not to mention the kill, it's a matter of whether it can last for 1 minute. If he wanted to really kill the demigod and complete the mission, he believed that his combat power would have to be doubled to be absolutely sure. Anyang feels that he may have to wait until his talent is upgraded again to have any hope, but talent upgrades are not as good as skills. It is a very long process. The higher the talent level, the more difficult it is to upgrade. He himself estimated that it would take at least half a year to be sure. But if Jia Shaozi can help and enchant Xu Changchun, the main attributes are directly increased several times, which is also an extremely exaggerated boost. A true disciple at the peak of rank 4 and a powerful person at rank 5 are completely different things. Once Xu Changchun successfully transfers his job, he will have an absolutely strong backing in Jushao Sacred Land. Compared with the big families behind the second generation, it is not false at all. The benefits are self-evident. Naturally, the sooner the better for this kind of thing. Jia Shaozi was overjoyed when she got the answer. She was an auxiliary professional. However, the strength of the incredible enchanting skills should not be underestimated. There are unique talents that can be directly synthesized every time you obtain a skill. To improve one's enchanting ability, but one's own combat effectiveness does not actually have much advantage. Compared to An Yang's abnormal output, she still prefers positioning assistance. In the next few days, An Yang had nothing to do and teamed up with Jia Shaozi to level up. It's not that I need her help, it's just to save some money on tickets. Make a good relationship with her by the way to prepare for future emergencies. Lin Linger seemed a little jealous, but Lin Yadong arranged an upgrade plan for her. He is also very busy every day. It is said that Lin Yadong is planning to get Lin Linger to the inner gate within a month. He also asked An Yang, but An Yang was not in the habit of eating soft rice. Besides, he also had his own upgrade plan, so he refused Lin Yadong's help. Life in Sacred Land is not what An Yang imagined. Busy and fulfilling. After 3 days of non-stop grinding, An Yang finally successfully raised his level to IV-29. If he keeps grinding for another day today, he will be sure to reach level 30. Then start the second transfer mission. After the transfer is successful, with his strength, he is sure to pass the promotion assessment of the inner sect immediately. Brother, I have no points. Jia Shaozi looked at An Yang with resentment, feeling relieved that her oral pleasure had escalated. But the ticket package should not be talked about casually. The points she had obtained at a great cost were originally intended to be enough for her promotion to the inner sect. However, it has only been 3 days and it has all been squandered. How about you take care of me for a few days? Jia Shaozi seemed to have thought of something, and couldn't help but her eyes lit up. Looking at An Yang expectantly. Poor, no money, farewell. An Yang's expression changed and he turned around and left without hesitation. Just kidding, points are important. Thanks to Lin Linger, I attended an auction in the name of Lin Yadong these 2 days. I saw a lot of good things, but his points were simply not enough. How can it be used on others? Hey, you, I heard that you earned 10,000 points from senior brother Shu. Jia Shaozi stamped her feet angrily. She never expected that An Yang would be so ruthless. As soon as he heard that he had no money, he turned around and left immediately. He was simply looking at the wrong person. Bah, scumbag. Jia Shaozi almost cried, looking at An Yang's back, gritting his teeth and cursing. It's impossible to support someone. It's impossible to support someone in this life. I can only ask someone else to support me. An Yang left the dormitory and walked aimlessly. Having tasted the sweetness of being kept, it was impossible for him to spend his points to buy tickets. After all, despite the fact that these ordinary dungeon tickets are not expensive, with his efficiency, he can clear at least a dozen dungeons a day. Most of this time is spent on traveling and selecting dungeons, which adds up to a considerable expense. It seems that it can be done as a business. And Yang's eyes lit up, as if he saw a good way to earn points. But don't worry yet, the freshmen are all poor people. If you can't scrape out a lot of oil and water, do you really need to upgrade it on your behalf or wait until you go to the inner door to really make money? Single play, upgrade to level 30, and then complete the job transfer mission with Linger. And Yang is thinking about the next action plan. He is now up to IV level 29. But among the outer disciples, many second-generation disciples have already surpassed them and have already reached level 30. Currently busy with the second transfer mission. These second-generation families will all have elders in Jushao Sacred Land. Before they enter Sacred Land, someone has already made an upgrade plan and strategy for them. The efficiency is completely beyond the comparison of ordinary people running around like headless flies. However, it is not that easy to be promoted to the inner sect. The second rank is just a prerequisite threshold. The most important thing is that your combat power must reach a certain level before you can pass the assessment and be promoted to the inner sect. The fastest in history took more than a month to be successfully promoted to an inner disciple. Coming to the dungeon portal again, Anyang began to pick up the dungeon. The number of copies belonging to Jushao Sacred Land is almost endless, divided into different blocks according to region and level. The closer you get to Jushao, the more overcrowded the Sacred Land copy is, but Anyang wants to clear the king level. Very few freshmen can clear this level of dungeon, so they are not very competitive. Yeah, junior brother, and why are you alone today? While I was selecting a copy, a gust of fragrant wind came around me. Anyang turned around and saw that the visitor was an acquaintance. It was Luan Binggran, the inner sect sister who was in charge of welcoming the newcomers. She has something to do today, so I'll do it alone. Anyang nodded, and suddenly his heart moved. Sister, may I ask which dungeons have the highest upgrade efficiency? Luan Binggran was slightly startled and gave the answer without much thought. Then it's natural to clear the Tower of Babel. It is said that the Tower of Babel has more than 9,000 floors. After each level is cleared, it will automatically enter the next level. The monster experience is 1.5 times that of other copies. The most important thing is that as long as you are strong enough, you only need to spend one ticket to continue playing. Tower of Babel. Anyang was slightly startled. He had heard of this name before. Luan Binggran also took him to see it. It was a huge tower that was so high that the top could not be seen. It is said that the origin is very mysterious. It was moved to the sacred land of Jushao by Lord Martial God himself. But isn't it true that only inner disciples can enter there? Anyang asked doubtfully. Luan Binggran briefly introduced at that time. The Tower of Babel will also be ranked. Those with the shortest clearance time, those with the highest clearance within the same time, etc. will receive additional rewards. The ranking on the tower most intuitively represents the strength of the disciples, and is the most valuable list. Almost every inner disciple will try it out. You are the chief disciple. You can make an exception and enter the Tower of Babel, didn't you know? Luan Binggran looked at Anyang in surprise. Anyang's face darkened, and no one told him. How did he know? Let's go, I'll take you there. The chief disciple is a proud and arrogant person, and he will try his best in almost every session. Luan Binggran smiled sweetly and took the initiative to invite. Currently, the one with the best performance among the previous chief disciples is Hu Ruian, the chief disciple 10 years ago. He is also the number 1 saint child in our sacred land today. Junior brother, and please work hard and try to surpass him. The beautiful senior sister blinked and said seriously. I try my best. Anyang was noncommittal, although he was absolutely confident in his own strength. But the first saint child. In the sacred land where monsters are rampant and strong people are everywhere, can you become the first saint child? Its strength is also beyond doubt. Whether it can be surpassed or not, you can only know if you go and see it. Babel Tower is a huge tower that reaches into the sky. But the bottom floor is not too big. The tower is shrouded in a hazy light. After looking carefully, several more lists suddenly appeared. Level list. Number 1. Shuchongchun 9875 level 10,000 points rewarded every month. Number 2. Long Yuxin level 9864 8,000 points rewarded monthly. Opening square bracket closing parenthesis. The top one is also the list with the highest gold content. The first one on the list is his old acquaintance, Shu Chongchun. Rewards for 10,000 points per month. And Yang's eyes widened and he looked at the list in astonishment. Such a reward is so exciting. The old man actually complained to him about his poverty, saying that he hadn't done any tasks in many years. Only 100,000 points. This list alone earns more than 100,000 points a year, even if he hasn't done any tasks for more than 10 years. That's more than 1 million points. Yes, you will be rewarded with 10,000 points for every 100 floors you pass. Senior brother Shu set this record more than 10 years ago, and no one has been able to break it. Luan Binggran looked at that lofty name with envy, a hint of awe flashed in her eyes. Shu Chongchun, who had not been seen for many years, caused countless sensations when he appeared. Of course it doesn't come out of thin air. 10,000 points for every 100 levels. And Yang's heart was pounding. All he has now is the 1,000 points given to him by his chief disciple in the first month and the 10,000 points given to him last time he acted with Shu Chongchun. And this Tower of Babel only needs to clear 100 floors to get 10,000 points. Then senior brother Shu has passed more than 9,800 levels, doesn't he get 980,000 points? And Yang did a simple calculation and his eyes turned red with jealousy. This old man even complained about his poverty. Nima is so rich beyond imagination. Don't even think about this, here. Luan Bingran curled her lips, although she was envious. But not everyone can get this reward. She pursed her lips and pointed to the bottom list. The top 3 among the previous chiefs also receive hefty rewards. This is what you should consider. And Yang followed her gaze and saw that the colors on this list were a bit perfunctory. The quality is obviously much lower, and the location is at the bottom of the Tower of Babel. Ranking first is none other than Hu Ruian, whom Luan Bingran mentioned, having cleared the 103rd floor. First, it has just passed the 100th floor, and Yang was slightly stunned. In his expectation, the top player in the history would have to reach 400 to 500 levels. It turned out to be only 100 floors. Only 100 floors. Luan Bingran glared at him angrily. What does it mean to only be on the 100th floor? Do you know what the Babel Tower means? Ordinary outer disciples and new students cannot last 10 seconds on the first floor. The minimum requirement is to have a 3-dimensional score of 10,000 to enter. In other words, even if it is the first level, professionals of level 40 or 50 who are placed in the outside world will be a character who will be beaten in seconds. Being able to reach the 100th floor means that you already have the strength of one of the top 100 inner disciples. Luan Bingran seemed to be very dissatisfied with Yang's words. He said several sentences in a row. It's just a curse. Senior sister Luan, what level are you at? And Yang looked at Luan Bingran with a strange expression and suddenly asked. 108 floors. Luan Bingran's face froze and she was silent for a long time before replying. The atmosphere was a little awkward for a while. And Yang touched his nose and quickly changed the topic. Thank you, senior sister, I'll go in first. And Yang's quick talk accidentally offended his senior sister, and Yang had no choice but to run away. The ticket to the Babel Tower costs 1,000 points, but it is said that this ticket is definitely worth the money. All disciples from the inner sect and above will take the opportunity to brush up once a month, no matter how busy they are. Even if you don't have great results, you will never lose money just by gaining a lot of experience. Enter the first floor of Babel Tower. I bought a ticket, stepped in and the world was spinning instantly. A pleasant reminder sounded, and Yang had arrived in a dark space. The space is not too big, only the size of a football field. All are within the range of Yang's aura. The room is hexagonal and about 100 meters high. It doesn't seem small at all. Buzz. While Yang was looking around, rays of light suddenly flashed. Countless monsters appeared out of thin air, and they looked exactly like the goblins seen in the trial field. But the head is more like a beast. Monster Race Warrior LV-29. Combat Strength. 6,000. Introduction. Professionals of a mysterious race with extraordinary combat power. 6,000 combat power. And Yang raised his eyebrows when he saw the enemy's special attributes. The combat power system is a unique calculation method among human professionals. For example, if Jushao Sacred Land disciples want to enter the inner sect, they usually use combat power as the assessment indicator. Generally speaking, combat power is approximately equal to the sum of a professional's own 3 dimensions. The assessment goal for promotion to an inner disciple is a combat strength of 6,000. Now it seems that it may be related to the Tower of Babel. And Yang thought thoughtfully, this calculation method is actually the same as the monster in the Tower of Babel. It's hard to keep him from thinking too much. Perhaps the combat power system comes from the Tower of Babel. And Yang's heart moved, and a terrifying suspicion emerged. The words monster race made him think even more. Unlike this world, no one has heard of it. As a second generation, he is very familiar with this word, and now he has been transmigrated into this world. Various transcendent powers and monsters emerge endlessly, and there seems to be nothing unacceptable about the emergence of a so-called monster race. Tip: if you persist for 30 seconds or kill all monster race, you can successfully pass the level and enter the next level. The monster race warrior who just emerged has a hunched body, and his body seems to be shrouded in a layer of brilliant light. Even though Yin Yang's aura is always turned on, it doesn't cause any damage to them. But as the beep ended, it seemed that the Tower of Babel had officially begun. In the next second, countless injuries instantly floated from the heads of the densely packed monsters. Critical hit. -2,567,888. Batter. -2,567,888. Kill Monster Race Warrior IV-29, gain 4,000 experience. Kill Monster Race Warrior LV-20, gain 4,000 experience. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Clear the first level and enter the second level after 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. The monsters on the first level are obviously no match for Yin Yang. Immolation Aura is the most useless skill of Aura Master. In the hands of Yin Yang, it is so domineering. In one moment of meeting, the densely packed monster race warriors were instantly overwhelmed. A massive amount of experience entered Yin Yang's body, and even the voice prompts seemed to be confused. It took a while before it started ringing. 3%. One level is 3%. If you clear more than 30 levels, you can reach level 30. Yin Yang took the time to take a look at his experience bar. Yesterday, he and Jia Shaozi completed the dungeon and his experience bar had risen to 8%. And after finishing the first floor of Babel Tower, it rose directly to 11%. Yin Yang couldn't help but feel happy immediately. You must know that the experience required for each upgrade after level 20 is simply huge. The upgrade from level 20 to level 21 is almost equal to the total of the previous 20 levels. The reason why Lin Linger upgraded so quickly was because Lin Yadong got her a 10-fold experience potion from somewhere, otherwise the upgrade efficiency would never be as fast as Yin Yang's. But that thing is said to be priceless, and the price in Jushao Sacred Land is as high as 50,000 points per bottle. Even Lin Yadong couldn't give him much to use. Enter the second floor of Babel Tower. Tip: if you persist for 30 seconds or kill all monster race, you can successfully pass the level and enter the next level. The environment on the second floor did not change. Yin Yang came to the second floor without even noticing any changes. With the same introduction, the monsters on the second level were also refreshed 3 seconds later. The appearance does not change at all from the first level, except that the monsters level has been raised from level 29 to level 30. Monster Race Warrior LV-30. Combat Strength. 7,000. Introduction. Professionals of a mysterious race with extraordinary combat power. One layer increases the combat power by 1,000. Then if there are more than 9,000 layers, isn't it close to 10 million? Yin Yang made some calculations and couldn't help but clicked his tongue. I knew Xu Chongchun was awesome, but I didn't know he was so awesome. With a combat power of more than 10 million, it is said that the threshold for becoming a true disciple of Jushao Sacred Land is only 1 million. This old man actually has a combat power of tens of millions. Yin Yang couldn't help being shocked, and then felt his own insignificance. Even though he seems to be losing air every second, his actual combat strength is estimated to be only tens of thousands. Sanwei is over 20,000, but he has divine level talent. The actual combat power far exceeds the 3-dimensional data, but it is estimated that it is only 100,000. It's 1,000 miles away from having tens of millions of combat power. Critical hit. -2,501,210. Batter. -2,501,210. To Yin Yang, the combat power of 7,000 is no different from the combat power of 6,000. It's still an instant kill. The third floor. Fourth floor. Yin Yang's tower clearing speed increased like a rocket, reaching the 10th floor in just 1 minute. Monster Race Warrior V-38. 15,000. Introduce. As expected, looking at the identical enemies, Yin Yang nodded. Everything was as he guessed. According to the increase of 1,000 combat power on the first floor. Calculated in this way, the 100th level is almost exactly around 100,000 combat power. 103 floors, seems a bit underestimated. And Yang thought about his boastful tone before coming in, and couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. 100,000 combat power is not low even for the inner disciples. With a further 2 to 300,000, we can almost start preparing for the third rank to be promoted to core disciple. Hu Ruian reached the 103rd level when he was still the chief disciple of the outer sect. He is indeed worthy of the title of the first saint child. And Yang felt slightly uneasy. He had never participated in a combat test. I don't have much confidence in estimating my strength into combat power at the moment, and I don't know how many levels I can reach. Complete the 10th level, reward points treasure box 1. Yeah, after successfully clearing the 10th floor, the prompt tone changed for the first time. An ordinary treasure box appeared in Yang's hands. Points treasure box. Randomly get 1 to 10 points after opening. Open. And Yang is speechless. He can only say that this reward is better than nothing. But if you can get 1 every 10 levels, it can be considered a big bonus. Enter the 11th floor. Monster Race Warrior LV39. Combat Strength. 16,000. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. For An Yang, there is actually no challenge in killing monsters, or in other words, there is no challenge in fighting. After all, Aura's 360-degree attack method with no blind spots is somewhat buggy. As long as there is no brain damage. No matter how awesome the enemy's skills are, they can only be captured obediently. Flash kill, still an instant kill. 20th floor, 30 floors, 50 floors. And Yang climbed up like a rocket, but Luan Binggran was almost dumbfounded when waiting outside to watch the excitement. 5 minutes, 50 floor. Luan Binggran's eyes almost popped out. Who has ever seen such an outrageous performance? That was the Tower of Babel. Not only was the enemy powerful, but what's even more terrifying is the huge number of enemies. The number of enemies on any level is more than 100, and those monster race monsters are different from ordinary monsters. They also knew how to cooperate with each other, and the waves of attacks continued like waves. If a normal professional has comparable combat power, it would be considered brilliant if he could hold on for 10 seconds. If he could hold on for 30 seconds. You need to be at least twice as powerful as the enemy to do it. And 10 layers in 1 minute, means 1 layer in 6 seconds. Then remove the entry lock time and end countdown time. All are instant kills. Luan Binggran made a simple calculation and couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. This is really an exaggeration. The 5 elements dungeon during the assessment can be instantly killed. I heard that the damage is as high as more than 700,000, but this is the Babel Tower, with a combat power of 30,000 above the 25th floor, it should be impossible to kill instantly. Luan Binggran was thinking, her eyes twinkling, and she didn't know what she was thinking about. In other words, in just a few days, his strength has risen to another level. I looked up at the list on the Tower of Babel. The names of the people who were entering the tower would be broadcast in real time. While she was thinking about it, An Yang had already climbed to the 51st floor. Kill 50 floors instantly, with a combat power of at least 100,000. 100,000 three-dimensional. The minimum is 50,000, right? How is that possible? Luan Binggran was horrified. This information was a bit exaggerated. Normally, it would take a month for a new student to enter the inner sect at the fastest, and the standard for the inner sect is only a combat strength of 6,000. Even with 100,000 combat power, she can't be much stronger at this moment. It was actually shown by a new student. Luan Binggran looked at the names that were still rising at a high speed, and couldn't help but have mixed feelings in her heart. Who can come to Jushao Sacred Land who is not a unique genius? I think she, Luan Binggran, was not doing well in Sacred Land, but returning to her hometown is still the pride of the whole family. The object of admiration and awe from countless people was able to easily defeat the strongest man in his hometown city. But there is a difference between genius and genius. Compared with the more evil genius, the aura in her seems to be gradually fading away, and she can't help but feel envious. I have reached level 30 in Babel Tower. I am afraid I will be promoted to an inner disciple today. Luan Binggran murmured to herself with a complex expression, only envy was left in her eyes. In the Babel Tower, An Yang has climbed to the 70th floor. When the monster race warrior level reaches level 50, it seems that it has reached the top and no longer increases, but the combat power still maintains an increase of 1000 per level. The combat strength has increased to 80,000. 5,000. Clear the 70th floor. Immolation Aura IV5 right pointing arrow IV6. Glorious Aura IV5 right pointing arrow IV6. Frozen Aura IV4 right pointing arrow LV5. Durability Aura IV4 right pointing arrow IV5. Blessings Aura 3 right pointing arrow version 4. Agility Aura IV2 right pointing arrow IV3. Combo Aura IV2 right pointing arrow V3. Strike Aura IV2 right pointing arrow IV3. Crit Aura IV2 right pointing arrow LV3. Explosive damage Aura IV2 right pointing arrow V3. Obtain points treasure box 1. Hundreds of monster race warriors were killed once again, and a series of notification sounds suddenly came from Yin Yang's mind. All skills, except for the Void Aura and Resistance Aura that I just learned, have been upgraded to 1 level. The original Immolation Aura and Glorious Aura have been upgraded to IV6. 1500 explosion damage, full critical hit. Every skill upgrade means a substantial improvement in strength, especially for Yin Yang. With the Divine Enhancement talent, the improvement in skills is far beyond what others imagine. Immolation Aura is indeed a useless skill of Aura Master. Even with the Divine Enhancement talent, the fixed damage is only increased by 500. But now Yin Yang no longer relies solely on solid damage. Explosive damage Aura and Blessings Aura are the main sources of output improvement. 1005% explosion damage, equivalent to 15 times the damage. Upgrading Blessings Aura to level 4 will increase the basic attack by 20 times. With Yin Yang's current attributes, the additional damage can cause nearly 3 million damage. This is only based on fixed numbers, and does not include the bonuses of various dragon baptism buffs. The attributes of the equipment are not calculated. If all are included, this number will increase by at least 30%. Combo Aura's combo rate has already reached 100% at level 2, but I didn't expect it to have new changes after level 3. Combo Aura IV3. All friendly forces within a radius of 1500 meters have a 100% chance of triggering a combo of damage when attacking, and a 50% chance of triggering a second combo. There is actually a second combo. And Yang was inexplicably surprised. He thought he had reached the limit of 100%. I never expected that there would be a second combo. By analogy, after reaching level 4, it will be 100% 2-hit combos, and at level 5, it will be 3-hit combos. And Yang was stunned. It would be really scary if this development continues. It would be a dream to upgrade to level 10 or 8 with just one strike and deal tens of millions of damage. No boss would be able to defeat him even with Immolation Aura. Too strong. And Yang murmured to himself. Aura was a little disappointed when it came to a critical hit. After it was full, there was no second critical hit. If done well, it was also the first skill for him to reach the upper limit. It's just that the blessing to teammates reaches a critical hit rate of 60%, which is pretty good. The explosion damage is 3 million, the minimum damage of the second combo is 4 million, and the maximum damage is 6 million. And Yang Yanlu was calculating silently. Including the blessing of Void Aura, a combo of 90 million damage. SSS. After a simple calculation, Yin Yang suddenly took a breath. Such exaggerated damage even made him feel a bit outrageous. Nothingness Aura can be regarded as a universal tool for both friend and foe, and the usage environment is not as simple as other auras. But once you encounter the right enemy, such as the monster race warrior in the Tower of Babel, you can directly hit a super high explosion. 90 million damage. I'm afraid it can kill a being with a combat power of 500,000 in an instant. And Yang thought silently, estimating his approximate limits. 500,000 combat power is already the ceiling for core disciples. If you meet the other requirements, you can definitely advance to the level of true disciple. The corresponding Babel Tower has thousands of layers. Can I reach the 1000th floor? And Yang was in a trance, feeling like he was in a dream. I couldn't help but feel a little uneasy, feeling that I might have made a mistake. But at least one thing is certain, that is to surpass Hu Ruian's record. Breaking through the 103rd floor is a sure thing, it's a piece of cake. The fact is just as Yang expected, the speed of 10 floors per minute has not slowed down at all. Even though their combat strength is close to 100,000, the defense of these monster race warriors has improved a lot. Immolation aura's damage has not decreased at all, but has exceeded the 3 million mark. Bright red streaks of damage up to more than 3 million are constantly floating up. If other people see it, their jaws will definitely drop in shock. 10 minutes later, the monsters on the 100th floor showed no difference from the previous ones. The moment it just appeared, it was like cutting leaks to the end. Clear the 100th floor. Get points treasure box bronze *1. Get 10,000 points. Obtain Tongtian map fragment 1. Dense beeps sounded, and a bronze treasure chest appeared. Including the treasure chests obtained previously, and Yang obtained a total of 10 treasure chests with points. An additional 10,000 points have arrived, as well as a map fragment whose purpose is unknown. Before Yang could check, the monster that remained unchanged before him finally changed. Enter the 101st floor of Babel Tower. Monster Race 51. Combat Strength 110,000. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Monster Race Berserker. And Yang was silent, the monster looked much more ferocious. He also had an extra set of bronze armor on his body, but it made no difference to him. Critical hit. -3,254,545. Batter. -3,254,545. Batter. -3,254,545. Dense amounts of damage continue to arise, and massive amounts of experience fall into your pockets. In just 10 seconds, he cleared the 103rd floor. Tied with Hu Ruian's record. One more layer and we can break the record. And Yang felt a little happy. He was ranked first in the Chief Disciple ranking list and got 1,000 points in a month. Even with his efficiency, he can support him in completing dungeons for several days. There is no doubt that there is no qualitative difference between the monsters on the 104th floor and the previous ones. After passing the level easily, Yang reached a higher level. But the outside world caused a sensation. 104 floors, 105 floors, it's a record. It's really a record. Outside the Tower of Babel, Luan Bingran's expression was extremely complicated. Looking at the list at the bottom, a brand new name suddenly appeared. In one fell swoop, it surpassed the name that had been at the top of the list for nearly 10 years. Although I had had a premonition, I was still extremely shocked. He cleared the 100th floor in 10 minutes and broke the record in less than 11 minutes, which means he can still kill monsters above the 100th floor instantly. Luan Bingran looked shocked, her eyes flashed and she murmured. Such an unexpected new life is really beyond imagination. When Hu Ruian set the record for the 103rd floor, it shocked the entire sacred land. He was awed by countless inner sect brothers and sisters, and his subsequent achievements were as expected. He has made rapid progress all the way. In just 1 year, he was directly promoted from an outer sect disciple to an inner sect disciple and then to a core disciple. Identity completed triple jump. In the second year, he was successfully promoted to the true biography, and in the third year, he entered the true biography sequence. Become an alternative Saint Child. In the end, he successfully challenged Saint Child in the 5th year and became one of the top 10 Saint Child in Jushao Sacred Land. Then it only took 1 year to pass 5 levels and defeat 6 generals in succession, defeating all the Saint Childs. Become the well-deserved first Saint Child. It has been several years so far, and no one has been able to shake its position as the number 1 Saint Child. 267. But today, she seemed to see an even more heaven-defying existence in a trance. Maybe we will create a legend that surpasses Hu Ruian. Such a monster, if he can make good friends in the future and not ask for the Saint Child, at least he will have no problem entering the true tradition. Luan Bingran's heart skipped a beat, and the thoughts that had been extinguished because of Lin Linger's presence started to burn again. Her face was slightly red and she didn't know what she was thinking. My pretty face is red, my heart is beating fast. Okay, sisters, junior sister Luan is thinking about a man. While Luan Bingran was thinking wildly, a voice suddenly sounded. A beautiful woman with a curved front and back hugged Luan Bingran from behind, and groped Luan Bingran's body irregularly with her hands. He shouted jokingly, Ah, Luan Bingran, whose mind was racing, didn't notice anyone approaching her at all. She was startled when her delicate body was touched. But when someone revealed what he was thinking, his pretty face turned even redder. I couldn't even refute. I opened my mouth and couldn't say a word for a long time. Wow, you really got what I said. Tell me, which senior brother are you thinking about? Do you want my sister to help you talk about it? The beauty looked at Luan Bingran in surprise. If it was like this before, junior sister Luan would definitely retort loudly, and then retaliate and knead her majestic breasts. But today it turned out to be so weird, something was obviously wrong. Ah, junior sister Luan, you are also going to be single. Please tell me which senior brother it is. It can't be our inner disciple. That's right, with your beauty, junior sister Luan, if you want to find a partner, you have to start as a core disciple. Is it core disciple Han Fengelin, senior brother Han? How can I impress you after chasing you for so long? Is it senior brother Wang Fei Wang? You can't enjoy good things by yourself. 4 or 5 beauties were chirping, and looking at Luan Bingran's pretty face, her heart was burning with gossip. Ah, you are going to die, what nonsense are you talking about? Luan Bingran took a deep breath and escaped from their clutches, and scolded with a red face. I'm just doing the task of bringing new people. Oh, new mission. Each of the senior sisters has their own merits. The first one's face is not as beautiful as Luan Bingran's. But he seems to have a charming personality, and his pair of red and phoenix eyes are like seducing people's soul. Coupled with the plump and delicate body, the protrusion and back protrusion, any male who sees it will probably be unable to help but take a few more glances. At this time, she looked at Luan Bingran with a playful expression, and it was obvious that he was not telling the truth when his eyes wandered. Bringing a new mission to Babel Tower. Haha, junior sister Luan, just tell me the truth. If you don't tell me, I'll be careful if my sister wears small shoes for you. The girls, Ying Ying Yan Yan, you said something to me. Obviously he didn't believe Luan Bingran's lies and couldn't wait to dig out her secrets. Luan Bingran stamped her feet anxiously and had no choice but to tell the truth. I'm really on a new mission, leading this year's chief disciple to build the Tower of Babel. If you don't believe it, just look at it. Luan Bingran pointed at the rankings and tried to change the subject. And Yang, yeah, are you really on a new mission? The eldest sister turned her head and looked suspiciously, and saw a bright name on the tower. Astonishingly, he is the chief disciple of the current outer sect who has become very famous these days. Wait, and Yang, the 112th floor, the 112th floor. Just as he turned his head, he suddenly seemed to notice something was wrong. He turned around again and looked at the golden names on the ranking list. I suddenly took a breath of cold air. Chief disciple and Yang has reached the 112th floor. Hiss, what, 112 floors? Go ahead, it's so fierce. It breaks senior brother Hu Ruian's record. Isn't it? I can only reach the 106th floor, a freshman has surpassed me. Several people's eyes suddenly widened and they took a breath. Couldn't help but exclaimed, junior sister Luan, this is the newcomer you brought. It broke senior brother Hu's record. The eldest sister still looked at Luan Bingran in disbelief as if she was in a dream. Back then, Hu Ruian shocked the entire sacred land when he broke through the 100th floor. Now, this 10-year-old record has been broken again. Right, Luan Bingran looked proud for a while, and couldn't help but feel happy in her heart. It was as if this achievement was achieved by her. Hiss, since he took a deep breath and looked at Luan Bingran in awe. Suddenly someone's expression changed. Junior sister Luan, were you thinking about junior brother and Yang just now? Okay, you Luan Bingran, you have rejected the pursuit of so many senior brothers, and now your heart is stolen by a new student. Luan Bingran's pretty face suddenly turned red, and she lowered her head with guilt. How can other people not know what this girl is thinking in this situation? Tell me, how far have you come? Have you done it? The eldest sister has a hot figure and a bold personality beyond imagination. The words came out so hot that Luan Bingran, who was still in a state of imagining, suddenly turned red at the base of her neck. Sister, what are you talking nonsense about? Luan Bingran stamped her feet anxiously, her pretty face turned red with embarrassment, as if she could drip water. A few cute senior sisters are laughing and playing, which is a beautiful scenery no matter where they are. It attracted the attention of many senior brothers and sisters who came to visit Babel Tower, but compared to this scenery, the content of their conversation just now was obviously even more shocking. The new chief disciple Anyang has broken the record. Some people looked shocked and looked at several people in disbelief. Although I thought it was a joke, I still unconsciously raised my head and looked at the bottom list on the Tower of Babel. I saw that the golden name ranked first was none other than Anyang. Hiss. The man suddenly took a breath of cold air and almost thought he was dazzled. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief and looked again. Holy shit. Anyang really broke the record. It has reached the 120th floor of Babel Tower, Sige. No, it has reached the 121st floor. Boom. The Tower of Babel is a must-have for all powerful people above the inner disciple level. It is even more lively here, with many people gathering here all the time. Either you want to brush up your own Tower of Babel once a month, or you want to find the names of your competitors to judge their strength. No matter what, there are quite a few people gathered here. As soon as these words came out, they immediately attracted the attention of many people. When countless people focused their attention on the ranking list of chief disciples, the whole place suddenly became excited. It's actually true. Senior brother whose record has been broken. 125 levels. 1 level in 10 seconds. More than 120 floors, and it took 13 minutes. Unbelievable. Each level can only be achieved by instant kill. How can this year's freshman be so perverted? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Is this cheating? Are you crazy? It's been 2 years since Waterma entered the inner gate, and now even the first level people can't reach a second, and the freshmen can reach over 100 seconds. A big earthquake. There is going to be a big earthquake in Sacred Land. Another monster has risen, and those Saint Child senior brothers may not feel well. Outside the Tower of Babel, countless disciples' eyes flashed. There are inner disciples who are shocked and disbelieving, and there are also core disciples who are stunned and unwilling. There are even some true disciples who are worried. True inheritance, as the name suggests, you can get the true inheritance of Sacred Land. He is the one with the highest status and the strongest strength among all the disciples. Naturally, he is also specially trained by Sacred Land. Many resources will be heavily tilted towards them. It can even be said that the entire 9 Heavens Saint. There are many tasks performed by outer sects, inner sects and even core disciples. Most of them are creating resources for true disciples. As long as you become a true disciple, you can get a lot of rewards every year even if you do nothing. Help them improve their strength rapidly. Such a special group naturally cannot have too many people. There are only 100 places in the entire Sacred Land. Even if other core disciples meet the requirements for promotion to true disciples, you may not be able to be successfully promoted. Because the last test for promotion to a true disciple is to defeat a true disciple. Those who are defeated will naturally lose the title of true disciple. Demoted to a core disciple, losing all previous glory and resources. If they are elsewhere, they don't have to worry. After all, enjoying a large amount of resources, their strength is improving faster than the core disciples imagined. If the core disciples want to attack them first and defeat them, you can imagine how difficult it is. But this is in the Sacred Land of Jushao, where all the geniuses from the entire Dragon Kingdom are gathered together. The training system of Sacred Land itself is a kind of cultivation system. Every year, there will always be a peerless monster-like existence. Step by step from the outer gate to the inner gate, and then be promoted to core disciples and then challenge them. Knock some unlucky guy off the altar and replace him. There was Hu Ruian before, now Anyang. Obviously it is their biggest threat. Somewhere outside the Jushao Mountains, at the top of a towering mountain peak, in a luxurious hall. The divine light kept blooming, and a young man in black clothes kept waving his fists and feet. Each punch can cause the space to vibrate, and divine light fills the entire inner room from both fists, making a muffled sound like thunder. Senior brother there is news from Babel Tower. A core disciple flew over in a hurry, landed in front of the main hall and announced his arrival in a hurried tone. The young man's boxing technique remained unchanged. After finishing a set, he wiped his sweat and walked out of the inner room. Who else has broken through the 5,000 levels? The young man asked casually. After sitting down, the maid quickly came forward to help knead his thighs with her hands. It's not the 5000th level, there's a monster appearing, and I might be able to advance to the true inheritance. The core disciples glanced at the young man with envy and accepted the servants and maids. This is a right that only true disciples have. He is a dignified core disciple who is respected by everyone no matter where he goes. But in front of this man, he can only grovel and surrender to his subordinates to gain a firm foothold. Promoted to true success, senior brother Yi's body was shaken, and he suddenly lost the complacency he had just felt. Who is it? Inner disciple or core disciple? Who evaluated it? Jose Yuan was nervous and asked urgently. He couldn't afford to be anxious about this matter. After enjoying the honor of a true disciple once, no one would be willing to give it up. Since he was promoted to true inheritance, he has been working diligently every day just to maintain his rapid progress in strength. Avoid being challenged and defeated by latecomers. After all, as the last of 100 true disciples, if someone wants to challenge him, it must be him. He can't tolerate it without being nervous. It's the chief disciple of the outer sect. Lu Fengyuan hesitated slightly, but answered honestly. Outer sect, chief disciple. Jose Yuan was shocked, his face suddenly darkened. Are you kidding me? The chief disciple of the outer sect, if I remember correctly, is an aura master named Yang. You said that an auxiliary profession has a chance of being promoted to a true legend. Jose Yuan laughed angrily, his time is very precious. He just got a treasure book recently. After successful cultivation, even his strength will be greatly improved. At that time, he felt that he might have the opportunity to go further and get rid of the reputation of being a true disciple. As a result, now this core disciple actually said that an auxiliary profession may be promoted to true disciple, threatening him. Lu Fengyuan, do you know what you are talking about? Jose Yuan laughed angrily. If it weren't for this junior brother who was so easy to use, I just want to slap him to death. Senior brother and Yang just challenged the Babel Tower and broke senior brother Hu's record. Lu Fengyuan had already expected what Jose Yuan said and directly told the truth. What? Broke senior brother Hu's record? Sure enough, upon hearing these words, Jose Yuan's expression suddenly changed again. He suddenly stood up and shouted in disbelief. Moreover, it only took 12 minutes to reach the 120th floor. Lu Fengyuan's eyes were also a little unbelievable. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, I guarantee he wouldn't believe it. But this is a fact, otherwise he wouldn't have rushed to report it. Click. Jose Yuan exerted slight force with his hands, and the seat armrests made of precious materials were immediately crushed by him. His eyes were fixed on Lu Fengyuan, and he saw a definite answer from the other person's eyes. Suddenly I couldn't sit still. Let's go to the Tower of Babel. Jose Yuan looked gloomy and his eyes flickered. Although he already had the answer in his heart, he still stood up immediately. He had to see this scene with his own eyes before he was willing to believe it. Yes, Lu Fengyuan nodded respectfully and quickly led the way. He was not surprised by Jose Yuan's decision. The inner disciples may not know what it meant when Hu Ruian's record was broken. But as a core disciple, especially a core disciple who is eyeing the true disciples, everyone knows what this means. Hu Ruian, today's inner disciples may only know him as the number one saint child today. But no one knows how valuable this first saint child is. It is no exaggeration to say that together with the remaining 9 saint children in Jushao sacred land, I'm afraid they may not be Hu Ruian's opponent alone. Such a perverted existence, anything related to him deserves everyone's attention. What's more, the 10-year-old record has been broken. This matter has completely allowed them to ignore the identity of Yang's auxiliary profession. Consider it your future enemy. Such a person naturally needs to go to the Tower of Babel to have a look. Let's see how far Yang can go. He will stop at the 130th floor. It still breaks through 200, or even higher. Another mountain peak, the same magnificent hall. The same conversation is happening. The peaks represent the residences of the true disciples. A piece of news spread throughout the sacred land in a very short period of time, leaving countless true disciples speechless and shocked. Senior brother Hu's record has been broken. Outer disciple Yang actually broke senior brother Hu's record. To clear 100 floors, you need at least 100,000 combat power to achieve it, and if you want to kill them all instantly, the minimum guarantee is 200,000 combat power. He's just an outer sect, but he already has a combat strength of 200,000. As expected, he's another senior brother who. Sacred land, there is going to be great turmoil. Last time senior brother who showed up, it almost triggered a war between great powers. I don't know what kind of changes this junior brother and will cause. One by one, the true disciples were shocked and began to speculate. It doesn't matter if there are powerful ones, the position of Saint Child has nothing to do with them. But the true story of the same fall is not so easy to obtain. The appearance of an evil junior brother would at most give them a little more attention. To say how serious it is, it really has nothing to do with them. But for the lower-ranked true legends, the problem is huge. Even if they are not in last place, the appearance of every monster means that their ranking will drop another step. And the emergence of this kind of reverse celestial beast evil will inevitably bring a few close people to the level of personal inheritance. If we bring more people, even those ranked in the 80s will not be able to guarantee that their positions will be secure. Streams of light flew out from the branch peaks of the Jushao mountain range and quickly headed towards the Babel Tower. They want to determine the general strength of this junior brother so that they can prepare countermeasures. Interesting, it even broke senior brother who's record. In a more luxurious palace somewhere, a tall young man couldn't help but smile after listening to his subordinate's report. If An Yang were here, he would definitely recognize him. This person is Lin Linger's second brother Lin Yadong. He is also his brother-in-law. It's not easy for the ancient city of An Yang to produce talents like you. Lin Yadong's eyes flashed and he murmured to himself. Sometimes there is a hint of light. The qualifications of the first Saint Child are not enough, we need to be stronger. Lin Yadong whispered softly, showing a strange smile. The whole body seems to be shrouded in shadow, like the whispers of a devil. If anyone saw this scene, they would probably feel extremely shocked. It's just an auxiliary profession, not worth mentioning. Another place in Saint Child's palace, a beautiful woman in a gorgeous red palace dress. Looking at the news reported by his subordinates, he shook his head and didn't have much trouble. He just trimmed his nails carelessly. But I heard that this junior brother is even more handsome than junior brother Lin. It's quite interesting. Ming Feishuan smiled playfully, her eyes flickering inexplicably towards the skinny man below. The gaze of a hungry wolf immediately made the man below him tremble, as if he had seen something terrible. Do you understand what our camp means? Ming Feishuan glanced at the man below with disgust. She had had enough of this guy. He was originally a handsome junior brother, but unfortunately he still couldn't withstand. In just a few months, she couldn't bear it anymore, which made her very dissatisfied. I understand. I understand. I understand. I understand. The man knelt even lower and kowtowed as if pounding garlic. He replied again and again. Young man, let's do it now, let's do it now. Concubine Ming Xuan snorted lazily, and the man hurried away as if he was receiving an amnesty. The person who broke senior brother whose record turned out to be an auxiliary profession. It's really interesting. In another palace, Wang Qi looked at the news in surprise. Thinking of An Yang's performance when he climbed the ladder to heaven that day, and what another senior brother said. Suddenly he couldn't help but his face became solemn and his eyes flashed. The news that Hu Ruian's Babel record was broken was like a thunder exploding in the sky in sacred land. The inner disciples and outer disciples haven't noticed much yet. But there was an explosion among the core disciples and true disciples. This made countless true disciples unable to sleep and eat well, and many people even chose to go out in person to watch outside the Babel Tower. Even the rare Saint Child appeared, which shocked the inner disciples who were planning to clean up the Tower of Babel. Look, it's the true disciple, senior brother Wang. Hiss, senior brother Lin is here too. And senior sister she's here too. Horrifying. A small outer disciple has alarmed so many true brothers and sisters. A little outer disciple. You actually think that I am a little outer disciple? When you were an outer disciple, were you able to clear the Tongtian Tower? You couldn't even enter the Tongtian Tower. You know what the heck? It is said that junior brother and senior brother and has the qualifications of a Saint Child. His promotion to the true successor in the future is certain. If one person is promoted to the true successor, it means that one person will fall to the core. Naturally, it will make people sleep and eat uneasily. Hiss. The real talent. Auxiliary profession. Can your auxiliary profession kill the 100th floor of Babel Tower in an instant? Outside the Tower of Babel, more and more people gathered. True disciples are not so easy to see. Usually you may not be able to see one for several months and half a year. Now there are more than a dozen appearing here, making many inner disciples and even core disciples feel like they are meeting their idols. Each one did not call for friends, so more and more people gathered. Even many disciples who originally planned to go leveling suddenly changed their plans and chose to come here to observe. There were more and more people, and people even appeared behind them and followed them without knowing why. Have no idea what happened. It's the 160th floor. 16 minutes, so terrifying. There are more and more people outside the Tower of Babel, but Anomaly is silent. After all, how could ordinary people dare to speak in front of so many true disciples? Countless disciples clearly distinguished themselves based on their own strength. Naturally, the innermost ones were the dozen or so direct disciples who had arrived. Some people looked up at the record results that were still constantly being refreshed, and couldn't help but sigh. There was even a hint of awe in his eyes. It's hard to imagine that such emotions would appear in the eyes of a true disciple, and the target was actually just an outer disciple. Senior Brother Wang, do you still think that the auxiliary profession is not worth mentioning? In a pavilion in the outer area of Babel Tower, no one knew that there were several more heaven-defying beings gathered at this moment. If anyone knew that the Saint Child was alerted and came in person, they would definitely be shocked. A young man with an impressive figure had his hands behind his back, his eyes were like a torch transmigrating the void, taking in everything in the Babel Tower. Looking at the soaring number of layers, I couldn't help but ask. Snort. Wang Qi snorted coldly, feeling a little dissatisfied but having nothing to say. The facts are before his eyes, and no matter how prejudiced he is against the auxiliary profession, he cannot refute it. It's so difficult. Seeing that senior brother who was about to go to the forbidden area in the fifth turn, another monster came unexpectedly. Another saint child was sighing with dissatisfaction in his eyes. These saint children have been dormant for so many years, don't they want to be the first saint child? It's just that Hu Ruian's strength is so incredible that it makes them breathless. But seeing that Hu Ruian was about to make a breakthrough and relinquish his position as saint child, they had hoped to compete. As a result, another monster appeared at this critical moment. Isn't this just a trick on them? Senior Brother Song, do you have any peace with me? The person who spoke first turned to look at Sending Dingshan and couldn't help but ask. No, I don't think so, but I think there is one. You also said it's just an auxiliary job, wouldn't it be over if I kill him? Song Dingshan grinned and said nonchalantly. Several other people immediately rolled their eyes, isn't this nonsense? In Sacred Land, such a young person will inevitably come into the sight of those high-level officials. Anyone who dares to attack him easily is simply seeking death. What's more, Xu Chongchun, the former number 1 saint child, has a close relationship with this person. It is said that it is also related to Xu Chongchun's 5th level mission. Looking for trouble for Anyang is no different than looking for trouble for Xu Chongchun, and that's not how you look for death. Even though Xu Chongchun has long since resigned from his position as the first saint child, his reputation is not weak at all. Both of them are now at the peak of rank 4. No one knows who is stronger or weaker. But at least they are not the ones who can mess with it. However, normal people would not take it to heart, but Wang Qi suddenly felt something in his heart. Suddenly I remembered a group of people I met some time ago. 200 floors. An exclamation made Wang Qi come back from his thoughts and quickly looked towards the Babel Tower. The number 1 chief disciple at the bottom has suddenly climbed to the 200th floor. Hiss. Unbelievable, the result is twice that of senior brother Hu. Another saint child turned green, looking at the name in amazement. I just felt my heart pounding, as if I saw a rising star. It is climbing at an exaggerated speed. Others were silent because the name was still rising rapidly. 30 minutes later, the 300th floor. Saint child was so shocked that some even couldn't help but scream. 40 minutes, the 400th floor. Even saint child, who was at the front of the queue, couldn't sit still. Originally, there were only 3 Saint Childs in the attic. Increased to 5. Junior brother Lin, your brother-in-law is amazingly powerful. I wonder how you will handle yourself in the future when you become a Saint Child. Wang Kei's eyes moved, looking at the new Lin Yadong, he couldn't help but said with unclear meaning. The others immediately looked at Lin Yadong. Although they called him junior brother, no one dared to look down upon him. Because of the overwhelming presence of Hu Ruian in Saint Child, other Saint children have no hope at all and naturally they are too lazy to compete for the rankings. No one knows how strong each other is. It is not impossible for the 10th ranked Saint Child to be stronger than the 2nd ranked one. Naturally, no one dares to offend others without knowing the strength of the other party. Haha, now I don't have to worry about senior brother Wang. Lin Yadong chuckled noncommittally and did not answer Wang Kei's words. And Yang's strength is indeed extraordinary. It will be a matter of course for him to surpass us in the future. Several other people immediately glanced at Lin Yadong, looking a little confused. What this sentence says is a bit intriguing. At this juncture when everyone is gearing up to compete for the No. 1 Saint Child position, it is said that Anyang will surpass them naturally. This is obviously to bring hatred to my future brother-in-law. Could it be that the Lin family doesn't like Anyang? Someone's heart suddenly moved, especially Wang Kei, who became more active. Although I don't understand why the Lin family thinks so, Anyang's background is equivalent to one less person. The success rate of his plan is even higher. Anyang, it is not as famous as meeting him, but meeting him is even more civilized. He is indeed the first person to be tested in history. A Saint Child with exploding muscles had fighting intent in his eyes. He looked at the rising numbers of the Tower of Babel and murmured to himself. I'm waiting for you in Junjuan. In the future, we will not only differentiate ourselves, but also decide whether to live or die. The other people suddenly frowned and quietly took a few steps back. This guy is just a martial arts idiot. I challenge this and that all day long, and whoever wins will beat the opponent to death. If you lose, you will immediately admit defeat. The reputation of the double-standard monster has long been spread among the true disciples. No one wants to get too involved with this guy, otherwise it will be a big trouble. In the Tower of Babel, Anyang had no idea that he had caused such a big shock. At this moment, he was repeating the same action with excitement on his face, turning on all auras. Because he discovered one thing, that is, the skill proficiency in the Tower of Babel seems to increase several times faster than outside. When he reached level 100, all his skills were upgraded by 1 level. However, it only took less than an hour to reach the 500th level, and the skills within level 4 were upgraded to another level. Currently, except for Immolation Aura and Glorious Aura, which are both IV6, Frozen Aura and Durability Aura are IV5. And Blessings Aura, who had just been promoted to level 4 before, was also promoted to IV5. Other Agility Aura, Combo Aura, Power Aura, etc. have all been upgraded to IV4. Even the newly acquired Void Aura and Resistance Aura have been upgraded to IV2. The combat power has once again been greatly improved. 1 burst damage is 4 million, and combo auras 2 100% hits, it's a direct damage of 12 million per second. Anyang looked at his property panel and couldn't help but be surprised. Once Void Aura is turned on after reaching level 20, the damage will further increase. Directly increase the damage 20 times. In other words, as long as the conditions are right, he can directly deal damage exceeding 100 million. Unbelievable. Anyang made some calculations and was immediately frightened. The gains from the Tower of Babel were far beyond his imagination. Now the level has been directly upgraded to IV40, and there are more than 50 treasure chests obtained. There is also an additional reward of 10,000 points for every 100 levels, which is 50,000 points. All added up, I am afraid that the gain is close to 60,000 points. Continue. Today, I will directly clear the 1,000 levels. The further improvement of strength has doubled Anyang's confidence. With the current strength of the monsters in the Tower of Babel, he is even sure of reaching the 1,000th floor directly. Create a record that is unprecedented and unprecedented. 1 hour, 600 level breakthrough. Outside, countless people were silent. I could only stare blankly at the record that defied the sky, and I almost couldn't help but suspect that there was something wrong with the Tower of Babel list. In 1.5 hours, 900 levels were broken through. Countless people outside have been completely dumbfounded, and their doubts have been broken again and again. They are completely numb. Especially Luan Bingran and her roommates were frightened. My mouth opened wide but no words came out. On the 901st floor, Anyang finally felt the pressure. Because he can no longer kill the monsters here instantly. Monster Race Soul Warrior LV80. Combat Power. 905,000. Introduction. Monster Race is a powerful soul warrior with both physical and mental skills and extremely strong strength. On the 900th floor, Anyang couldn't help but marvel at the attributes of the densely packed enemies in front of him. Unknowingly, he had reached the 900th floor. The level was directly raised to close to level 50, and the attributes it brought did not improve much. But the skill levels have all been upgraded again. The highest Immolation Aura and Glorious Aura have been raised to IV7, except for Nihility Aura and Resistance Aura, they have all been raised to IV6. 4 new skills have been unlocked one after another. Defense Aura IV2. The defense of all teammates within a radius of 1,000 meters is increased by 10,000 points. Demon Aura IV2. The spell damage of all teammates within a radius of 1,000 meters is increased by 1,000%. Silence Aura IV2. All enemies within a radius of 1,000 meters are prohibited from using skills. After turning it on, it consumes 10% of its maximum mana every second. Fasting Aura IV2. After turning it on, any enemy within a radius of 1,000 meters is prohibited from using any restorative skills or props. Defense Aura and Demon Breaking Aura is unlocked at level 13. Defense Aura and Yang is not satisfied with it. It turned out to be a fixed value rather than a percentage, and the enhancement received was limited. On the other hand, Demon Breaking Aura has once again enhanced its spell damage by 10 times. Let Anyang's output reach a big level again. The 2 skills unlocked after reaching level 40 do not increase the output. I prefer PK. One prohibits the opponent's skills and the other prohibits the opponent from adapting to restorative props. It can greatly limit the enemy's combat power. The damage exploded again, but the enemy's strength also increased dozens of times compared to the original. The actual output has not increased but has dropped a lot. It can only deal more than 4 million damage at a time. Fortunately, Combo Aura has been upgraded to IV5, with 2 100% combos and 1 50% 3-hit combo, 173. It can make up for a lot of damage. Critical hit. Minus 4,521,235. Batter. Minus 4,521,235. Batter. Minus 4,521,235. www. Dense damage floated from the head of the Soul Warrior, but it did not kill him instantly. The next second, Anyang finally saw the strength of these Babel Monster Race warriors. Dark Cut, an anomaly Babel, Anyang is pretty sure he has never heard this language before. But I understand the name of this skill very anomaly. Laugh. A soul warrior disappeared from his eyes in an instant, and the speed was so fast that it exceeded the limit of Anyang's vision. Even from God's perspective, it can't keep up with the enemy's speed. At this terrifying speed, even if he saw it, he had no time to react. The next second, a hurt floated over his head for the first time. Minus 124,521. Dark Cut. Following closely behind, countless soul warriors dispatched at the same time. In the past, every time I directly killed the enemy, I didn't think there was anything wrong with having more enemies. On the contrary, I thought the more enemies, the better. After all, 10 is an instant kill, and 100,000 is also an instant kill. But at this moment, Anyang finally understood what it was like to have hundreds of monsters crowded together. Not good. Anyang's expression suddenly changed. He thought it wouldn't matter even if he couldn't kill instantly. Just delay it for a second, but at this moment he knew that he was a little swollen. He also underestimated the terrifying existence with a combat power of hundreds of thousands. Except that the output is not as good as mine, every aspect is a crushing dimensionality reduction blow to me. Flash. Almost at the moment when the first damage appeared, countless soul warriors all anomaly disappeared at the same time. Anyang's scalp went numb instantly, and he didn't even have time to think about it. Directly activate the exclusive skills obtained after one turn. Laugh. A sharp and terrifying sound sounded from behind. From God's perspective, and Yang clearly saw the moment when he teleported away. In the position where I originally stood, the space seemed to have been cut open. A dark light flickered slightly and immediately cut the space in half. Annihilation's ability rises and falls, exuding a heart-stopping aura. And Yang's scalp was numb and cold sweat was pouring from his back. Fortunately, he reacted in time just now. If the reaction was slightly slower than 1/1000th of a second, I'm afraid it will be cut in half directly. His current strength is only over 8,000 at full capacity, and he has not been pursuing equipment much during this period. He still wears a set of golden equipment and a sacred jade green bag book that he wore in the trial field, and his life is less than 200,000. One Soul Warrior's attack wiped out most of his blood, and if he was hit again casually, he would definitely be dead or alive. What's more, there is not just one enemy, but hundreds of them densely packed together. The dark night is eternal. The blow failed, and the Soul Warriors turned around again. Anomaly's gibbering sounded, and Anyang's heart suddenly rose to his throat. Fortunately, a flash was delayed to 1 second after all. Next moment, critical hit, -4,256,541. Batter. -4,256,541. Clear the 901st level. Call. Seeing the enemies being wiped out instantly like wheat, Anyang let out a sigh of relief. In just 2 seconds, he seemed to have experienced a century. The tense nerves relaxed for a moment, and then my whole body felt like it was fished out of water, dripping with sweat. But before he could relax, his vision changed slightly. Thousands of Soul Warriors were refreshed again. And Yang's body tensed up instantly, and he focused on the enemy in front of him. The strength is 1 step stronger than the previous level. 3, 2, 1, now, flicker. Fortunately, Anyang had the previous experience and counted the seconds silently in his mind. When the level officially started, Immolation Aura's countless attacks exploded instantly. At the same time, he also flickered just right to avoid the dark cutting of the Soul Warrior. Then, the second came. The burst of countless damage once again kills all enemies instantly. Call. Everything went well, and Yang let out a sigh of relief. Each subsequent level was exactly the same. With a flash of magical skills, he successfully passed through the Babel Tower one after another whose strength far exceeded his own limit. Practice makes perfect, even if it's dancing on the tip of a knife. After slowly becoming proficient, Anyang relaxed slightly and slowly climbed up level by level. 910th floor. 950 floors. 970 floors. As the results slowly climbed towards the 1,000 levels, countless people from the outside world also gathered. Almost all the inner disciples came together, and it was so crowded that they couldn't even stand. Many lofts in the area near the Tower of Babel were full of people, everyone eagerly staring at the list. Occasionally, people who came out of Babel Tower were shocked when they saw this scene. When they learned that a chief disciple of the outer sect wanted to reach the 1,000th floor. Almost everyone looked like you were joking, but the fact is here. No matter how incredible they think this is, they still have to accept this exaggerated reality. It's 978th, could it really be possible to break through 1,000? In an attic somewhere, 6 men and 4 women gathered together. If anyone else was here, they would be shocked to see this scene. The 10 people are actually the top 10 saint children of sacred land today. A chief disciple of the outer sect actually alerted the entire existence of the recipient of the highest honor in sacred land. The top 10 saint children gathered together with shocked expressions on their faces. The record was initially broken, but it actually only alarmed those lower-ranked true disciples. But as Anyang climbed up the ladder, his achievements became more and more exaggerated. More and more people were alarmed, and in the end even the saint children couldn't sit still. People came here to witness this incredible moment. 1,000 layers, let alone the inner disciples, the core disciples are only at their peak, but an outer disciple has actually reached this point. A middle-aged man with a calm demeanor muttered to himself incredulously. His eyes couldn't help but glance at the ordinary young man at the top. The young man has an ordinary face and even looks a bit honest. But no one who knows him dares to disrespect him at all, because this person is clearly the legend of Jushao sacred land. Today's no. One saint child Hu Ruian. When he appeared, even the other 9 saint children felt a little bit incredible. I never expected that even this person would be alarmed. Auxiliary profession, maintains an instant kill attitude and reaches more than 900 levels. I'm afraid the combat power will exceed 1 million, right? The person who spoke was a beautiful and charming woman, and her appearance was not too outstanding. But she has a graceful and luxurious temperament, and she is now the second saint child Zhang Beibei. Not necessarily, it may just be an explosion of output. I have long heard that junior brother and Yang cleared several king-level dungeons in the trial area. His talent may be in terms of output. Another senior sister shook her head and retorted. She has outstanding appearance and tall figure. Dressed in white palace clothes, she is entrusted like a princess in the Moon Palace. It is Qin Mingyu, the third saint child. The minimum talent is SSS level. Sixth saint child Wang Qi said to himself in a deep voice, his eyes flashing and his face solemn. I originally looked down upon a mere auxiliary profession, but now I feel great pressure. What kind of monster is on the 900th floor? Its combat power must exceed 1 million, right? The combat power of an 80-level soul warrior should be close to 1 million. Lin Yadong finally said, even though he was equally shocked by An Yang's strength. But he always seems to have a calm expression, with a demeanor of keeping his expression unchanged despite the collapse of Mount Tai. His speed seems to be 1 second slower than before the 900th floor. It should be impossible for him to kill instantly, but the minimum damage required is more than 3 million to achieve it. It is not an easy task to avoid the dart cutting of the soul warrior for 1 second. Comprehensive evaluation. Our junior brother and Yang's output is explosive, close to that of a true disciple. In terms of defense, he can at least withstand 1 attack, which is pretty good. And the speed, or the ability to save life is also superb, but not everyone can escape the dart cut that almost kills instantly. Tisk, 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 the output is explosive, the defense, life-saving, and speed are not weak, but he is a hexagonal monster with no shortcomings. Several saint children talked to each other and analyzed An Yang's strength almost instantly. Each of them had fought up from the Tower of Babel, and they did not have the strength to kill everyone in 1 instant. It relies more on defense to protect itself and support itself. 30 seconds to clear the level. But the more I do this, the more I understand how terrifying the monster race monsters in the Tower of Babel are. The more this happens, the more I am amazed at An Yang's strength. Senior brother Hu, do you think this junior brother can pass the 1000th floor? In the end, it was the second saint child, Zhang Beibei, who asked Hu Ruian and ended the discussion. Everyone's eyes immediately turned back and focused on Hu Ruian. This legendary figure's answer was naturally unimaginably convincing to them. Hu Ruian pondered slightly, looking calmly into the distance. There is no qualitative difference between 1000 floors and 999 or even 901 floors. If you can kill the 900th floor in seconds, even if you can't reach the 900th floor in a second, you can still kill the first 1000 in 2 seconds. Either you make a mistake on the 901st floor and you will be eliminated directly. Since you have already reached the 980th floor, it will be a matter of course to clear the 1000th floor. Everyone nodded slightly when they heard this. It was pretty much what they thought. At this level, as long as there is no external interference, it is generally difficult to make mistakes. Since there are no mistakes, the 999th floor is no different from the 1000th floor. Normally, anyone can definitely break through the 1000th floor. 1000 levels should be no problem, but higher, after all, the level is too low and the suppression is too great, so it will be difficult to achieve. Hu Ruian continued to speak, his eyes filled with admiration. I couldn't help but shook my head slightly and sighed. Even so, it is an unprecedented, unparalleled genius, which is no good. Hiss. After listening to Hu Ruian's words, everyone suddenly took a breath of cold air. Rao knew that An Yang was incredible, but he never expected Hu Ruian to give such an evaluation. How is it possible? He is just an auxiliary profession. Zhang Beibei's expression changed, and she looked at Hu Ruian in disbelief and couldn't help but retort. Yes, after all, it's just an auxiliary profession. It's incredible to be able to get to this point. Senior brother Hu is too modest. A ranking of the chief disciples of the outer sect of the Babel Tower means nothing. There are countless geniuses, how many can rise up? Senior brother who is different. After 5 rounds, he will be able to stand on top of the world. How can you compare to him in Yang? Yes, senior brother who is too humble. The other saint child shook his head repeatedly, as if he wanted to persuade Huruian to take back his words. It's just that everyone's eyes were flickering, but they didn't believe Huruian's words. If you still don't want to believe it, then only you will know. What about support professions? Huruian shook his head. He believed in his own judgment. As long as this junior fellow apprentice does not die prematurely in the future, his achievements beyond his own will be certain. You guys still have too many professional prejudices. If the life profession can produce a Lord Nightshade, why not have an Anyang 3.5 in the auxiliary profession? Others were still retorting, but Huruian shook his head and was too lazy to explain. His mind is clear and his eyesight is clear, and he sees everything clearly. Professional teams are a constraint for ordinary people and even for most of the team's talented players, but for those with outstanding talents, the role of talent is even more important. People who have not received this kind of talent will never understand how terrifying a heaven-defying talent is. A powerful talent that can turn a blacksmith from a professional life into one of the top 10 masters in the Dragon Kingdom. With a talent that is obviously more terrifying, it is not impossible to create the strongest person. I will leave for the 5th round tomorrow. If everything goes well, I will be relieved of my position as the first saint child in half a year at most. Huruian changed the topic and glanced at the 9 people meaningfully. But I suggest some of you that the competition is still there, don't think that others can't see your little tricks. You know, our Dragon Kingdom has gods now. Quote quote. The words that sounded like a warning and a slap in the face immediately caused the expressions of several of them to change slightly. But it was quickly hidden, and what he was thinking in his heart was not known to outsiders. Huruian said nothing more and took a deep look at the Tower of Babel. He turned around and left without waiting for the final result. As soon as Huruian left, the 9 people looked at each other with wandering eyes. I don't know what I was thinking, but for a while no one spoke anymore. Time passed by minute by second, and the outside world was quiet. Many disciples seemed to be holding their breath unconsciously, as if they were afraid of disturbing the person who was about to create a new legend. Only the name on the ranking list of chief disciples of the outer sect at the bottom of the Tower of Babel still kept flashing every few seconds and kept rising. 998. 999. 1,000. Countless people's eyes followed the numbers, and they couldn't help but count silently in their hearts. When the number finally jumped from 3 to 4 digits, someone finally couldn't help but exclaimed. 1,000 floors. Countless people's eyes froze and they took a breath of cold air. Babel Tower takes 100 floors as a small unit and 1,000 floors as a large unit. Every time you pass a level, you will receive amazing rewards. The reward is still secondary. The most important thing is that the Tower of Babel is often an important criterion for measuring a person's actual combat power. To enter the Babel Tower, you need at least an inner disciple. As for the peak inner sect disciples, the 3rd level masters can generally only reach the 200th level, which is the limit. The higher levels are usually exclusive to core disciples, and each level is a huge improvement. After all, not everyone has the strength to instantly kill the monsters in the Tower of Babel. And the 1,000th floor is another threshold. It is the pinnacle of core disciples, and those who can pass it mean they have the strength of a true disciple. This is the most nerve-wracking thing. An outer disciple. The freshmen who just came in this year have directly crossed the 3 realms of inner disciples, core disciples, and true disciples. Just thinking about its potential makes one's scalp tingle. The ones who were most outraged were naturally those true disciples at the bottom of the rankings. Especially the 100th ranked Jose Yuan. His face was as black as the ashes on the bottom of a pot. 1,000 floors, can you still go up? I don't know. But it's unlikely. I heard that the strength of monsters above 1,000 levels is a qualitative change. Even if it doesn't work, it's enough to go down in history. I'm afraid no one will be able to break such an achievement. A record of 100 layers has been maintained for 10 years, 1,000 layers. I can't even think of it. It's too scary. Is this the so-called world of great strife? It is our honor to be born in this era, but it is also the sorrow of the proud people. Junior brother and Yang is indeed worthy of being the first in the trial field, redefining the auxiliary profession. Junior brother. You call him junior brother. Ah, senior brother and Yang. Senior brother. Under the Tower of Babel, countless disciples were in an uproar. Some people looked strange and directly changed their name to senior brother. A dignified core disciple, but he calls a new student from the outer sect his senior brother. 26. If someone had said that before, he would have been thrown away by a big guy, but now he doesn't feel embarrassed at all. After all, a being who can directly hit the 1,000 layers has far exceeded the limits of most of their core disciples. Identity is just a title, only strength is a symbol of a person's status. In the Tower of Babel, and Yang was also shocked. Unknowingly, he had reached the 1,000-layer mark. This result far exceeded his expectations. The level has skyrocketed all the way, and it has been successfully upgraded to IV50. The original target of level 30 is more than half exceeded. This achievement also surprised him. After going out, he would be able to directly upgrade to IV60 for the 3rd rank in half a month. And then, it is not a dream to be directly promoted to a core disciple. I don't know how strong the core disciples are and how many levels they can reach. And Yang murmured to himself, unable to help but yearn for it. Core disciples not only have an identity, but also have many rights. It can be said that after being promoted to a core disciple, one already belongs to the middle level of sacred land and can even participate in some decisions, including helping to manage the outer sect or inner sect disciples. Many of the outer sect and inner sect elders actually work part-time as core disciples. For him, after being promoted to core disciple, he can completely unlock all the dungeon resources of sacred land. No longer have to queue up to find an empty dungeon. Most of the day's leveling time is taken up by rushing and queuing. It seriously affects your efficiency. Clear the 1000th floor. Get 100,000 points. Obtain points treasure box iron. Obtain Tongtian River map fragments 10. A sweet prompt sounded, and to Yang's surprise, the 1000th floor directly gave him a full 100,000 points. Including the previous harvest, the points directly gained a huge 190,000. There are nearly 100 various points treasure chests in total, and it is estimated that they can open thousands or even thousands of points. This line of work can be said to be full of money. Enter the 1001th floor of Babel Tower. Monster Race Captain. 1,005,000. Introduction. A strong person with a certain status in monster race, whose strength far exceeds that of ordinary warriors. Closing square bracket. The environment in front of me changed slightly again, the same room in the hexagonal tower. But it's obviously much higher quality than before, and there are even windows. And Yang looked over curiously. There was mist outside the window. You can't really see anything. A dense crowd of monster race captains appears. In appearance, and Yang cannot tell the difference from the warriors. However, the armor on his body is obviously more high-end, and can almost cover the whole body. The combat power is still increased by just 1,000, but the level is directly increased to 100. After level 50 and killing monsters, if you clear a few hundred more levels, you might be able to directly upgrade to IV60. And Yang didn't take it to heart. This little bit of combat power did not bring any qualitative improvement to him. It's still just a 2-time instant kill. With the experience of the previous 100 levels, he is absolutely sure to pass the level. Dark cut. The countdown of just 3 seconds ended, and Yang counted the time silently. As expected, the familiar murmurs sounded, and everything seemed so familiar. Flash. And Yang waited for the enemy's attack to start, then flicked away skillfully. He successfully avoided the enemy's attack, but his expression changed drastically the next second. Critical hit. -4,101,214. Batter. -4,101,214. Miss. Miss. Dense amounts of damage are flying from the enemy's head, but there are a few conspicuous misses among them, which are so dazzling. Not good. And Yang's heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but exclaimed. The next second comes, and patches of damage begin to appear again. Countless monster race captains fell down like leaks, but 7 or 8 of them had a big miss above their heads. Still standing strong. Hit, not enough hits. And Yang's heart skipped a beat, and a strange term suddenly appeared in his mind. I once studied in the number 3 middle school of Wanggu City. For high-level experts, the combat power system will gradually become more complicated. It is no longer something that can be explained by the simple 3-dimensional attack and defense, but it will also increase attributes such as hit, dodge, and true damage. Especially the hit and dodge attribute. No matter how high your attack and defense are, if the hit is not enough, all hits on the enemy are a series of dodges, and no matter how high the attack is, it's all in vain. He thought this was still a distant thing, so he didn't take it too seriously. I didn't expect to meet him so soon. It's over. And Yang's face was ugly, and an ominous premonition appeared in his heart. Before he could think of a countermeasure, he saw several monster race captains who had successfully survived targeting him again. At the same time, Anomaly's murmurs sounded. Dark cut. -162,542. -163,841. Flashing into CD, and Yang had no time to react. From God's perspective, you can clearly see the enemy's attack trajectory, but your body seems to be playing in slow motion. He didn't have time to react, so he could only watch the black sharp weapon in the monster race captain's hand slash across his body. Several waves of terrifying damage floated up, clearing an Yang's health bar almost instantly. And Yang only had time to curse silently, and then his vision went dark. In the next second, countless monsters disappeared, and he returned to the entrance where he first entered. Challenge ends. Settlement in progress. The pleasant mechanical sound sounded, and Yang touched his body with lingering fear. Fortunately, this is the Tower of Babel, and death here is not real death. This will only count the challenge as over. But this feeling of death makes it difficult to accept the second time. There is great terror between life and death, it is really not a joke. Level 100. And Yang breathed heavily, and it took him a while to gradually calm down. Level 100 is a threshold, that is, after level 100, you can truly enter the ranks of the strong when you enter the 4th rank. My achievements are nothing. His swollen heart slowly compressed. The several battles he had seen Xu Changchun in before had not had such a big impact on him. At that time, I didn't feel how great the injuries were, and I couldn't even appreciate the strength gap between myself and Xu Changchun. But now, he knows. The achievements and strength that I am proud of may not even count in front of a truly strong person. I wonder if aura was hit. And Yang's eyes flickered, and suddenly he had an idea and couldn't help but think. If aura is hit, with the ability of his divine enhancement talent, with a direct increase of 50 times, wouldn't it be possible to make up for this shortcoming instantly? And Yang kept this idea in his heart and planned to ask Xu Changchun next time he met him. Or go to the Sacred Land auction and see if you can get anything. After calming down a little, the settlement of Babel Tower was finally completed. Evaluation. SSS+. Clear clearance. 1000. Duration. 1 hour and 45 minutes. Achievements. Ranking number 1 among the chief disciples of the Outer Sect. Achievement. 8 Forbidden Realms fighting up to level 70+. Rewards. 100,000 points, Monster Race Captain Set 1, Tongtian River Key 1, 1,000 points per month. A series of beeps sounded, and countless rewards arrived that made Yang's head dizzy. Before I had time to check, I felt as if I had been kicked out. The sight in front of me changed, the dim roof disappeared and was replaced by the bright sky. The dazzling light made Yang, who was used to the dark tower, couldn't help but close his eyes tightly. It took him a while to get used to it before he dared to open his eyes. But as soon as he opened his eyes, Yang was slightly startled again. He looked at the sea of people in front of him with a confused expression, which almost startled him. This is. Yang looked at the senior brothers and sisters who were crowding in front of him, their eyes were so hot that they seemed to want to eat him up. Suddenly I couldn't help but shrink my neck and looked back cautiously. I thought some big shot was coming and I was blocking the way. However, when I look back, I see the towering Tower of Babel behind me. Where are the other people? Senior sister Luanluan. Yang was confused, and when he saw a beautiful woman in the front row, he quickly shouted in a low voice. I want to ask what's going on. Senior brother N is out. 1,000 levels. The threshold for true disciples. Senior brother and is about to be promoted to true disciple. Is this senior brother N? So handsome. Senior brother N, I want to give birth to a monkey for you. Senior brother N is looking at me. Senior brother N is looking at me. Senior brother N, look at me, I'm from Yuzhou too. Outside the Tower of Babel, there was a huge crowd. It boiled almost instantly. Everyone looked at Anyang with burning eyes, and the senior sisters all looked red and charming. It's like trying to eat people. The eyes of the senior brothers turned green with envy, and each of them was inexplicably excited. Most of the people were trembling and screaming. If it weren't for the awe of the true disciples, they might have pounced on them one by one. There are countless emotions such as envy, awe, jealousy, etc. It only shocked Anyang. It was Luan Bingran who came up with a blushing face and explained that Anyang realized that he had caused such a big sensation. Isn't it just 1,000 floors of Babel Tower? It won't cause such a big movement, right? Anyang is a bit incredible. In his opinion, isn't it just a Tower of Babel? The list at the top is all filled with people in the thousands and thousands, and there are no people below 5,000 levels in the top 100. I am only 1,000 levels, how could I cause such a big sensation? Isn't it just 1,000 floors? Luan Bingran choked at his words and rolled her eyes angrily. Brother, you are a bit like Versailles. It's not just 1,000 layers and 1,000 layers, it is known as the true field. There are very few core disciples who can reach the 1,000th level. Each of them has the potential to be promoted to a true disciple. Do you think it's serious? Luan Bingran was filled with emotion. She glanced at the envious gazes of other senior sisters and felt proud. I couldn't help but deliberately took Anyang's arm and buried it between her breasts. Seeing this scene made the senior sisters below gnashed their teeth and wished they could take his place. Ahem, is it that serious? Anyang is a little embarrassed, but I have to say that this kind of mature woman's flavor is indeed something Lin Linger does not possess. A green apple, sweet and delicious. One is a ripe peach, fresh and juicy. Both sides have their own merits. Senior brother and, you are really. Let's put it this way, if you reach the 104th floor and break the record of senior brotherhood, the lower-ranked true disciples will pay attention to you and regard you as a threat. Luan Bingran felt that Anyang didn't break free, and she couldn't help but feel happy in her heart. Squeezing her breasts harder, she quickly explained. You have reached the 200th level, which can be regarded as unprecedented and unprecedented. It has attracted a lot of attention to the true inheritance. Your future promotion to the true inheritance is certain. When you reach the 300th level, you will be regarded as the same level by all the true disciples, and you will even have the qualifications of Saint Child. You reached the 400th floor, which alarmed the sacred land. Many saint children came to pay attention in person, thinking that you have the potential to compete for the No. 1 saint child to succeed senior brotherhood. When you reached the 500th floor, even the first saint child, Brother Hu Ruian, was alarmed. He came to watch in person and left the comment, I am not as good as you. If you reach the 600th floor, you will be regarded as the number 1 enemy by all saint child. They will pay close attention to everything about you, and even send people out to inquire about all your news. You have reached the 1,000th level now. That you can think about it yourself. Anyang was stunned and felt a little chill on his back. I couldn't help but touch the sweat on my forehead. Doesn't that mean that the whole city of Saint Child regards me as a thorn in their side and wants to get rid of me as soon as possible? Well, that's not the case. Our place is sacred land, not the demon gate in the White Elephant country next door. Luan Bingran looked at Anyang speechlessly and said angrily. But it's not much better. Someone will definitely do something dirty, and even if they don't take your life, they will delay you for a while. Anyang was speechless. Inexplicably, he was suddenly noticed by the aloof saint children. He is even regarded as an enemy. Where the hell can he reason with me? But he has nothing to regret. After all, the improvement brought by Babel Tower cannot be built for nothing. It can greatly improve his upgrade efficiency. If he had to do it again, he would not hesitate to choose Babel Tower. As for possible targets and sneak attacks, we can only say that the troops will come to cover up the water and the earth will cover it up. No strong person's growth path is smooth sailing. There will always be various challenges. Only then can you finally grow into a strong man who stands tall in the clouds. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.